We're
You're on
live.
camera.
Wow. Oh my god.
Gratuitous. Nope.
Cool. Very nice. And we'll just chill for a little bit until we feel like we've been live long enough that we can start. Oh, I have to record this too. I gotta make sure I hit start recording. That would be fucking stupid. Although it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have to like make the edit off the VOD. It's just the VOD would be 1080 and the canvas when I record is like 3240 or whatever it is, so that each corner is 1080.
Right.
Yeah. So then when I did quarter down, it would be like 480p, which would fucking suck.
It's 2023, man.
Yeah. Although, I mean, you know, what, 480p was like HD in 1995, right?
Yeah.
The height of technology at one point.
People would pay $2,000 for a monitor that could do 480.
For those 6,000 pound giant TVs everyone used to have in their living rooms. Those like massive ones.
Huge CRT. Like,
Yeah, it could only output 480. And it weighed a giant fucking ton.
Let me put it in the Discord too.
yeah, 3 people. Oh, yeah. So which link are you going to drop in the Discord? The YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think it's good if, you know, people find us where they find us, but when people watch the stream on the YouTube channel, then it gives us a little bit of an SEO boost.
Oh, cool.
Which is nice. Wait, so which platform was the comments not working? It was Twitter, right? People talking on my Twitter wasn't coming through.
Let's find out. Let me go to the Twitter. How do I see the Twitterville?
Yeah, it sounds great. So which
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the audio sounds freaking fantastic. I'm shocked because usually when you have this many mics this close together in like a bouncy ass room, you're just gonna hear everybody on everybody on everybody.
Right. Yeah, I think that like noise floor that you have on helps out a lot, but it just like doesn't pick up the smaller sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not getting chats on that, but maybe Twitter doesn't actually work with Restreamio chat, and I'm just like thinking it does, but it doesn't. But that's fine, whatever. Fuck Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go somewhere else. No, you should. If you're not watching this on the YouTube channel, you should go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and continue watching it there, because it helps us grow the channel. If you're watching it anywhere else, you're
kind of worthless.
Yeah, you're a second class
like
citizen.
yeah. Get your shit together.
You filthy casual.
Yeah, linktr.ee/haveyouseen_YT. Wow, that is a lot.
What he said.
Syllables. Yeah, you can see it on the screen.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen.
It's there.
But yeah. Cool. So I always feel like I want to wait a million more years before I start, but we should just start. Let me lock all my sources so I don't accidentally click and drag something. All right. So the idea is that we are going to rank science fiction films using the like tier maker system, S being, you know, the GOAT, and then A, B, C, D, just like you're in school. F is like the WOT, worst of all time.
Oh, thank you.
The woat.
The WOT. You got the GOAT and the WOT, and then everything in between. And we compiled a bunch of movies that all 3 of us have seen that fit the sci-fi genre. So unfortunately, that means that there are movies that are obviously going to be deserving of placement compared to the ones that we're going to talk about. But because only 1 or 2 out of 3 of us have seen it, it'll kind of be, you know, Carlos, you were saying that in a way that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun that if we do come across a movie or someone at home suggests, we're also home, but someone else at their home, if they suggest like, hey, why isn't X movie on this list? It's the greatest of all time, or it's my favorite, or how could you forget so-and-so in this? Well, then, I mean, we can immediately point fingers and be like, well, because he hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
And then we can just, I don't know, do some hazing, have some fun with it, and then add it to like movies that we should watch later on our channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Any suggestions would go a long way. in that vein.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
That'd be good.
Make sure you type out suggestions. And also share your opinions as we go through these of being like, yo, why are you guys putting that A tier when,
How could you forget this scene that completely ruins the movie, or the ending of it, or no, the movie gets better as you watch it. It should be S tier.
Yeah.
What have you?
You guys remember Gary Sinise was in that one, right? That should knock it down 2 pegs
Do
immediately.
not talk shit about Gary
Yeah.
Sinise.
That man is a national
Do not
treasure. How
talk
dare you?
shit about Gary Sinise.
What was the
So
movie?
you hate veterans, is what you're saying.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're anti-American.
Anti-American.
What was that movie that he was in? He was in the one where
Forrest Gump.
yeah, but he was in like a sci-fi film where they like go to Mars or something.
Oh my
They find
God.
like a
that's right.
teleporter and they're like on the moon or something, and then there's like they get in this like liquid oxygen tube thing and it like shoots them to Mars or some
I
shit.
cannot remember the name of this, but yes.
I think I remember the DVD cover. I used to work at Blockbuster, so like I have a library of DVD covers for movies that I've never seen that have they just exist in my head. So like I can picture the cover of the DVD, but I have no idea what the movie's about.
I'm like that with video games from like 2008 and before.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. GameStop or something
GameStop.
like that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I thought, well, 2 things I thought would be cute. The first one is that in that upper right-hand corner is a window where I'm going to play like the trailers of the movies that we're like deciding on in like a loop, without the audio, but just so that like we can try to remember some more details about the movies in case you haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
definitely-
exactly.
And we'll be using a trailer so that there's no spoilers, there's nothing in case you did want to see that or you forgot you wanted to see it. You can at least remember what that movie was without getting spoilers.
Oh yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah, the
Mhm.
trailer shouldn't spoil the movie.
Mhm.
Movie, hopefully. What else? The other thing is, so I thought, is the best approach here to try to first identify like one S tier
Mhm.
and one F tier, or at least one A tier and one F tier, to kind of give ourselves like an ultimate barometer
Yeah.
to then operate above and below.
I want more chaos. I think we go one at a time.
Okay.
We
Right.
put it into place,
Sure.
and then 4 movies later, we readjust everything.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a really good idea to kind of set. What is it? You set the parameters of the experiment, right? The extremes on both
Mhm.
ends, and then you kind of have things to compare to.
Yeah.
I guess we could also we could talk about just what our favorite like sci-fi movie is, like each of us individually, and then we could but I mean, as long as we all agree that they belong
Mhm.
on the S or A tier, we
Yeah.
could just put that up at the top, right? So,
Okay.
we can go that
Okay.
way or whatever. Yeah.
I like that actually. We each start with picking one out of the whole list
Like, what is your S
and
vote?
then arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. We each pick an S tier
Mhm.
and argue why it's S tier. And then after all 3 of us have done that, we each pick an F tier and
Yeah.
argue.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
worst out of
debate.
Yeah.
It's like
I
a
like
presidential debate for movies.
Yeah. Right.
All right. And candidate number 2, please present your argument for why Jurassic Park needs to be S tier.
I reclaim my time, Senator. Okay.
I yield.
I like that. Okay, so let's do that then. So, and obviously there'll be a little bit of operationalness. Like pick a movie, then let me get the trailer up, and then we'll go through it. So
Cool.
here's is that it? We only got that many movies on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 22. Okay, that's crazy, but it's true. We only got to 22 movies all 3 of us have seen.
I just want to apologize for anybody watching right now that I have not seen Ad Astra, and I do recognize it should be on this list among probably many more.
Have you
Ad
seen Ad
Astra?
Astra?
No.
With
What's that
Brad
one?
Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones?
Sure. No.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. No. I've
dude.
never seen it. Is that a
Yeah.
recent one or is that?
It is recent. It's
Okay.
more recent than
Oh.
Interstellar.
Oh no, I have seen that one.
was
Yeah.
like- I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like
They have
last
the
year, the
scene
year
where they're
before.
like
Yes.
racing on the moon from these like pirates that are trying
Yes.
to fucking shoot them on the rovers.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
That one's fun. Yeah,
It's-
that's
What?
a fun one. It's fucking sick. Yeah.
I
What?
spoiled the whole thing. No, it's fire.
It is great.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I totally forgot about that movie.
Okay, so let's start with you, Josh. What would be out of all of these
Ooh.
your like S tier nominee?
Rival's not on here, is it?
No, because he
Shit.
hasn't seen it.
Damn.
That's on me.
I know. This is what the whole day is gonna be like.
I know.
We
yeah.
should have a chart of like dings or I don't know what,
Dings.
of just
Oh,
like
who has like the worst?
Yeah.
Like, who's the worst of the three of us in terms of like keeping us down?
yes,
Mhm.
who's the worst offender at the movies we haven't seen?
Yeah, we could let people vote at the end on that.
Boy, oh boy.
And if you don't recognize any of the posters, let me know and I'll tell you what's what.
Sure.
Yeah, what's the one with the kid in the moon? Just kidding. Sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Okay, so if Arrival was on here, that would be my S pick. I just want to put that out there. That's like my favorite sci-fi movie of all time.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. Out of these, I feel like Ex Machina is probably. What's that one with the hand? What's that poster with the
Battle Angel Alita,
right next to that one? What is that?
Oh, this is
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't recognize that. Shape of Water's good. Yeah, I think Ex Machina tops the list out of all those.
Wow.
It's-
I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I mean, sci-fi is such a broad genre.
Yeah.
Like so one of the things I was curious about is what you guys think of when you think of sci-fi. Like, do you think spaceships? Do you think robots? Or like, what is it that sort of draws you to
So
the genre?
when I was coming up with my sci-fi list
Mm.
of my movies to add to this, I encountered that same thought where I
Right.
was like, wait a minute. Sci-fi is more than just like Star Wars-esque movies.
Yeah.
It's anything dealing with science because it's science fiction. I mean, Frankenstein was the first sci-fi creation, Mary Shelley.
Mhm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So, she is the mother of sci-fi. From then on, it's anything that deals with science. So we have Jurassic Park and Signs, which is aliens. And then we have things like, Interstellar and Ex Machina, which deals with computers. I mean, it is broad, like you said.
Yeah. And there's so many different like tones, and it's like it as a genre it can form in so many different ways that like it's hard to nail down exactly what it is aside from having to do with science.
Right.
Like
That's the only way you can
Yeah.
compartmentalize everything because, as you're pointing out, Ex Machina has such a distinct tone
Mhm.
that Jurassic Park doesn't have, I Am Legend doesn't have, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Vastly different in like subject matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ex Machina, that'll be my my S pick for now.
Your S tier nominee.
Mhm.
Let me grab this real quick so that we can have this up here to look at
Oh sure.
when I switch these. That way, if we want to look at the footage together, we can look at the footage. I could put it like that. Hey, we could find love, you guys.
Oh my god.
Yes, 69mega.com. Thank you for
Loving your tone today.
joining.
Wow.
Wow, look at the
Awesome.
love, guys.
Sick.
Deuces.
Really coming in. Oof.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, so Ex Machina. Like,
Mhm.
this is cool because I get to kind of remember who was in it. Oscar Isaac,
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
From Star Wars acclaim.
Bill Weasley, my man.
That's right. He was Bill Weasley. I totally forgot about that.
Wait,
Now-
what?
Yeah.
Bill Weasley.
Mhm.
Yeah, the eldest Weasley.
Oscar Isaac was?
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. That guy, yeah. He's,
that
Charlie-
would be funny though.
he's Irish, right?
Yeah.
The actor?
yeah.
His father is legitimately the actor that plays Mad Eye Moody and is in Bruges.
No shit.
Yeah, that's his father.
That's his father?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but
No
yes.
way.
That's
yes.
fucking awesome. I
That
didn't know
is
that.
acting family right there, like the
Holy
Skarsgårds. Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, and this guy, it kills me that I forget his name. I'm going to look at my phone because I feel terrible, but I mean, he was in Black Mirror, he was in Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Mhm. He
Star
was,
Wars. I
he
mean,
was
he's
in,
He's in
the-
Star Wars.
Yeah,
He's
he's in the
yeah.
recent Star Wars movies.
Yes. No, he is he's incredible.
And I forgot that this was A24.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This was the movie that introduced me into that production company that
Yeah.
was like, whoa, what are these guys doing?
Huh.
Mhm. Yeah, this was one of my first A24 movies as well.
No way.
Alex Garland is a fantastic director. I was just looking him up now because I recognize him, but I couldn't tell from where. He also directed Annihilation, um,
Oh.
28 Days Later, Men, the recent one from last year. I
Oh
think.
wow,
Later.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but that looks creepy.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but it does look super interesting, and it's sort of been on my short list for a little while. But yeah, so I guess like, do you want to go into the discussion of why I think it's
Phenomenal.
good?
Absolutely,
Do you wanna
yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I remember seeing Ex Machina when it came out, and I don't know, it's a very thoughtful and like slow paced movie for a movie with a robot lady in it. You know what I mean? There's other movies that are like I, Robot or whatever that's much more action oriented, but this
Mhm.
one is just about sort of drama, and I just like deep character stuff. Like that's typically what I go for
Yeah.
with sci-fi. Like I love the movie Her. That's a great one.
So good.
And Arrival's in that vein as well, where it's just sort of interpersonal and it's not very big or flashy. Like I love that kind of
Well, like this
subtler
movie,
stuff.
it's a very tight cast.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
much more of a character piece
Yes.
on each of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's yeah, simple plot. It's nothing really out of the ordinary, but it's just handled really really well, and it's very intriguing, I think. So it maybe not the most like, bombastic, entertaining sci-fi movie out of the bunch, but yeah, no, I liked it quite a bit.
I appreciate the point that you both made about it being a character piece.
Yeah.
Like it's an actor's movie. Whereas like you said, I, Robot, Battle Angel, even Shape of Water, although I'd say Shape of Water is closer to also being a kind of an actor's movie.
Mhm.
Right.
But even then there's gimmicks and characters.
There's
stuff like that.
fantastical elements to it that was purposely done
Yeah.
to be that way.
And as I look at the other movies that we're going to rate
Mhm.
later on, it does feel like among all of these, this one actually does work as like it stands apart in that it is a kind of ensemble piece, an actor focused piece, and I feel like if we thought about science fiction films that share that,
Mhm.
Ex Machina is S tier
Yeah,
among them.
absolutely.
Like I can see that.
It's probably one of the more self-serious movies out of the
Mhm.
bunch. Aside, I mean, like Inception and Interstellar are in that vein as well. Where it's very about like having grounded characters and emotional arcs and high points and low points and stuff like that. Not that the other movies don't have that, but it's much more of a drama than a lot of the other ones, and that's typically what I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it stood out. It's like, okay, that'll be the top. I think.
Yeah. I think Interstellar is close.
Yeah.
But I think that it really features one actor so strongly against all of the others, and that they're more of a supporting cast rather than an ensemble.
Right.
Whereas in Ex Machina, it's very much an ensemble piece.
Mhm.
Ex Machina, you putting those thoughts right out. Ex Machina feels more like it could be a theater production.
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
yes, like it could be blocked for stage.
It could
Absolutely.
absolutely be blocked for stage,
Yeah.
where Interstellar is a
Correct.
movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no way
yeah.
you're pulling that off without like.
Put that on Broadway.
No, you
Black hole
cannot.
and-
But like Ex Machina, you can put in a black box theater
Yes.
at a
Yeah,
college.
absolutely.
100%.
And still have the intensity and the character and the acting in it
Mhm.
while still delivering a sci-fi production.
Awesome. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that this is an S tier sci-fi. film.
Absolutely F tier sci-fi.
F tier,
Just kidding.
boy. Okay, there we go. We've got one in the bank. So, Carlos, I'm gonna let you be next, and I'll go last.
Man, I was really hoping you would go because I was hoping you would pick one of the ones I'm debating on so that I can easily make my decision. All right, so I'm looking at these films and I was definitely thinking about it as Josh was talking about, because I have personal favorites and then I have movies that I recognize as just creative masterpieces,
Sure.
right? Interstellar really, really sticks out to me as an S tier movie. And I say that having absolute passion for Back to the Future.
Right.
Having seen Back to the Future as many times as I have, there's so much done in that movie that are subtle nods throughout the film. I mean, there's things going on in the background with the sets. There's nods on the set in the background. There's lines that cut back. There's things that are purposely timed, and there's little Easter eggs. You know, when Marty goes back in time, I'm spoiling Back to the Future, by the way, because if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
shame
on
your
you.
name.
It's too late for you.
Shame
to
on your
save
family.
yourself.
When Marty goes back in time at the Twin Pine Mall and smashes through the barn that has two trees, he comes back to the future, and it's the Lone Pine Mall. And it's little things that like that to me make Back to the Future an S tier movie, because there was so much done into it and a lot of thought that I will say Interstellar does. I mean, the fact that, what was I reading the other day? The black hole effect in Interstellar took 1,000 hours, 100 days worth of time.
Well,
to render?
Was it the black hole, or was it the inside the Tesseract?
No, it's a black hole.
Okay.
Just to render the effects of that took 100 days worth of hours.
Crazy.
Just for that effect.
Wow.
And the science that went into Interstellar
Yeah.
was all theoretically correct and consulted on. So that being said, Back to the Future doing what it did back then, I think was the predecessor to something like Interstellar.
Right.
Even though it's more gimmicky, it's more comedy, it's more silly, it's not as intense and serious. I'm going to say Back to the Future belongs on the S tier list.
Okay, yeah.
Catch me outside. Fight me if you will.
No, yeah. That's so interesting. Yeah, it really reflects those two movies specifically, like two totally different poles of sci-fi. Like where you have this movie where they're driving a car at 88 miles an hour and then it shoots backwards in time, and then Interstellar, which is mathematically correct. Like where like it's hard science. Not only that, but like to generate that black hole effect, they advanced science. Like they had to figure out how to calculate what light would do in that scenario, and it was like they wrote papers on it and shit.
It's kind of like
For a
Futurama,
movie. Yeah,
inventing a proof for the episode.
Yes.
Like creating a new mathematical
Science fiction advances science. It really does.
Yeah.
Like stuff that was in Star Trek back in the 70s, like all the tablets and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's what inspired the iPad and iPhones and like all that stuff. Where like people invent something that doesn't exist, and then reality sort of catches up to it. That there's so many examples of that happening.
Life imitating art, imitating life.
Right. Yeah. Like it doesn't just predict the future, it inspires it. Like it directs it towards, I keep hitting my cord. I hope that's not picking up. But yeah, Interstellar is amazing for that. And Back to the Future is not at all that type of movie, but I totally agree with your point that it belongs in the S tier.
So
100%.
You know, the thing is, like in the course of you using Interstellar to draw like strengths out for Back to the Future, you kind of convinced me that my argument is going to be Interstellar for S tier.
That's why I wanted you to go
So,
second,
you kinda-
because I was hoping you would pick Interstellar. I'm glad I achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah. What's up, Arc? Yeah, so let's do it. I think that we might as well go ahead and just slap both of them in at the same time then. So
Sweet, sure.
Back to the Future, absolutely S tier.
What up,
And
Arc?
for me, Interstellar, because I think the reason why I also feel very strongly about
Yeah, tell us.
Interstellar being in there is partially because not all three of us have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Who's that? Who hasn't seen it?
You haven't seen 2001?
Yeah, I have. I watched it with my mom in like 98.
Yeah.
Wait, we've all seen it.
it.
So then why isn't it in here?
Emergency!
Oh,
We
shit.
need 2001.
Well, shit. It's too late for me to grab the movie poster and put it in here, but let's just assume that we're all in agreement that 2001 is S tier. Oh no! Oh no!
A tier.
Okay, hold on.
A tier. A
I
tier.
feel better about A tier for that one.
Okay,
It's fantastic.
Well, hold on. Why?
Um,
First let me get the trailer for 2001.
Yeah,
in
Josh, I'll
here.
let you go first if you want.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one. Honestly, it is because that movie it was so ahead of its time. Where like you didn't really see there's a lot of things in that movie that for its time were completely like you didn't see that kind of stuff very often, right? Like it was so the set design alone is so fantastic. But it's just so weird that I mean it's the weirdness is its strength for sure. But I don't know. There's some things that I think I just don't feel as strongly about with that movie. Maybe
To
because
add
I
to
saw
what you're
it.
saying,
Yeah.
the reason why I put it A tier and
Mhm.
not S tier is because I feel like even though it is Stanley Kubrick style
Yeah.
and it is absolutely incredible as a film, it's too avant-garde to a disadvantage.
Yeah. It is sort of
It-
like
It hurts itself by being so Stanley Kubrick, where it's not friendly to a person new to sci-fi.
right.
You have to be into sci-fi or have a love for it, I think, where that can scare someone.
Yeah. It's not very accessible. In the sense that like the plot is accessible. It's it's not hard to follow, but there's stuff it's like what the fuck? Like what is happening?
But it is really
But
a
it's
good
so
movie.
good. It is really good.
Incredible. And yeah. Aaron, tell
yeah.
us why you want to fight us.
No, I think you're right that it is avant-garde for a space film.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of a space opera.
Yeah.
It has movements.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, literally filled
Mhm.
with classical music. It also has weird instances like this where he starts to travel like faster than the speed of light and ends up in this weird white room and aging in a sort of
Mhm.
Slaughterhouse-5 kind of way where memory no longer exists. And then somehow he like turns into this star child of like fetus floating around in space. Like I get that. I think that if it were maybe edited down to
Mm.
the more like palatable to a broader audience moments. Yeah, like the monolith, for example, is also kind
Yeah.
of like a weird element that's never explained. I think there's a lot of things in the movie that's just not explained. And it does make it kind of more an art piece
Yeah.
than
Oh, yeah.
something that has broader appeal. So I can see that. I could definitely see that as a weakness. I think maybe in the time that it came out, however, it was still the strongest science fiction piece in
Yeah.
terms of like um you know trying to make projections about
Mhm.
the future of like it's almost a bit of a cautionary tale in the way that the Terminator series is.
And
Right.
I say
Like
it is the ex machina of its time.
Sure.
oh yeah,
I can see that,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
What were sci-fi movies at that time, and then
Mhm.
you have Ex Machina come out or 2001 and just be completely different tonally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And visually, I respect the hell out of 2001: Space Odyssey because it's like it's such a clear vision and it's so like it's crafted really well to suit that vision. It's just not really my favorite, I guess.
Mm.
In terms of like I wouldn't dig it out to watch it if I'm itching for some sci-fi.
Mhm.
Like that wouldn't be my first go-to. It
Yeah.
would be one of the movies that we have on the S tier. So that's why I think it's more of an A tier movie.
Gotcha.
But I mean, A tier is
It
great.
definitely
It's all good
deserves
stuff.
A tier.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I can agree with you. I would say that for me it's top 5 sci-fi films of all time. But I can see your points as well enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would allow it to be
By the grace of
placed
Aran.
in A tier.
All right.
Arc says irrelevant, but Puss in Boots is S tier.
I haven't seen that yet, dude. I really
Yeah.
I've seen
want
it. Have
to.
you?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh.
Wait, Puss in Boots, the first film. Yeah,
No, the one
actually,
that just came out. I think he's talking
Yeah.
about the one that just
that's what
came
I thought he was talking about. Just the
Hmm.
most recent one. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the most recent one, but the original one.
Yeah.
I don't remember the original.
I don't think I watched that one.
I may not have seen
But
it.
the new one is pretty damn fun.
There's so much like buzz about it that I really
Yeah.
got to go check it out.
All right, so 2001, we'll put it in the A tier. I don't have the poster for it, but we'll just kind of keep that as a footnote. So,
Yeah.
if all three of us have done our S tiers, now let's go back and each argue for an F tier, if there even is one. If you feel like you can't look at any of these and say F, then put them, try to pick something that is like the lowest on the list for you of this.
Right. Not necessarily F, but like the
Yeah,
worst one. Out of
But
bunch.
yeah, to try to establish a baseline of like the shittiest.
Done.
Oh, you're ready to go?
I think I know which one it is. There's gonna be a lot to. Yeah.
Well, because when I made my list,
Mhm.
and I guess this is me volunteering to go first.
Okay.
Sure.
When I made my list, I thought about the best sci-fi films, my favorite sci-fi films. I didn't honestly think about all the sci-fi films I've seen,
Right.
which was
Right.
my detriment. That was my mistake.
But it's kind of funny
So when I look at this,
because we have to take a thing that we like down a pick.
Armageddon.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah,
That is
I think
also
all
my
three of
pick.
us
You
can
know,
agree on
I
that.
looked at this list and I thought, well, let's see, Starship Troopers. It was campy. Nah, it
Careful,
was good. It
careful.
was really
Mhm.
good. Does not deserve F. And then it's like Martian, Matrix, Signs, Pitch Black. Oh, Armageddon. Okay, yeah, Armageddon.
Yeah, there it is. It kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. It's really I don't know. It's the only movie out of this list that it just has that like really, I don't know. It feels like such a product. It's so I don't know. It's in this weird lane that none of the other movies.
want to close my eyes. I
Uh,
don't want to.
And Liv Tyler was in that, right?
Yeah.
She was like the.
Yeah.
She does what she always does.
Yeah, she lives.
You can see from the trailer, it's more about fucking explosions and a big rock crashing to Earth than anything else. It has nothing to say, really. It's just like it's kind of like if Transformers were up here, it'd be in that vein,
Yeah.
where it's like the robots are sort of accidental.
All right.
Like,
I
yeah.
need to change my F list.
Uh-oh.
What? Because Transformers.
If Transformers 2 had made it on here,
Mhm.
that is one of the worst films of all time in my book. And especially as a sci-fi film, terrible. And I can spend 2 hours talking about why for many reasons, but we'll go ahead and use Armageddon for now.
Sure. That'll be the stand-in for the Transformers-esque.
Yeah.
Who is Armageddon directed by? I feel
Well, it
like
says
Michael
it's
Bay.
a Bruckheimer.
is it Michael Bay or is it Bruckheimer?
It says it's a Bruckheimer film, but I'm not sure who specifically directed it because it may just be Bruckheimer production.
Right.
And your boy is in this.
Yeah. Yeah, which one? I've got a couple. Billy
You're-
Bob Steve Buscemi's in this.
Uh-huh.
It is Michael Bay.
It is Michael Bay, yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like such a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when Michael Bay.
Spend 90% of the budget on explosions.
Yeah,
and the
when
other
when
10
you
on as
look at
many
a
stars
when you
as
look at a
possible.
trailer
Oh,
or a
dude,
movie
it's so obvious.
that's directed by Michael Bay, and you feel like you can hear 2000s rock music
Yeah.
playing, it's because
Swamp
Michael
rock.
Bay started as a music video director.
Oh shit!
I didn't know
Yeah.
I
that.
didn't know that. Wow.
So that's why all his films have this bombastic quality that, yeah,
this Nickelback esque.
yes, Nickelback-esque vibe.
Yeah.
Granted, I think my favorite Michael Bay films are Bad Boys.
Yeah.
I could
see,
get with that.
Yeah. Those are in
that was good.
those hit the mark for sure. But these ones, it's like, I don't know.
Dude, the scenes in Armageddon when they're like on the crater and they just decide they're going, like, what's his name? Just decides he's going to start like firing his gun randomly all over the place. And there's like nothing even like attacking them or whatever.
Mhm.
He's just like bored and wants to shoot the big gun. Like, why?
Yep.
Just why?
Yeah, it's
Because
pretty
it was
bad.
easier to train oil rig guys to be astronauts than to teach astronauts how to work oil
How to
rig
work a drill
machinery.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah, it's bad. I remember seeing the trailer for that Ambulance movie or whatever, the Ambu-LA.
What?
You didn't see that one? It's got Jake Gyllenhaal. I think it came out last
Oh,
year.
is that
It's like they're in an ambulance and they're just like they rob a bank and then
Yes.
yeah, there's some guy who's like a veteran or whatever.
I thought you were talking about the 911 operator one.
No, yeah. So it was a Michael Bay movie, and within the first 5 seconds of watching, you're like, okay, this is. He's got like don't get me wrong. I think it's good when directors have a style that is
Absolutely.
theirs.
Kind of like who did the lens flare shit all the time? J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams, yeah.
Yep. He's
Master lens flare.
But it's just one of those things where you can just tell, and if you don't like it, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. And if you do like it, cool.
Sure,
I
that's
mean,
your
like,
thing, yeah.
yes, my man.
Yeah.
Keith David.
Keith David's in it.
Forgot he was in this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who the fuck isn't in this movie? That's like
No,
Owen
seriously.
Wilson.
Owen
like,
Wilson's in this. Steve Buscemi.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton, the actor who always plays a Russian man.
No, that guy from Green Mile.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember his fucking
Michael-
name. Like everybody.
Oh, yeah.
FYI, the Twitch isn't on the link tree.
Oh.
Oh yeah, but that's because it's my personal channel. I don't think we intend in the future to have you seen streams on Twitch. I'm just doing it on Twitch now to try to promote the channel a little bit because I've got like 1,800 followers on my Twitch channel, of which 2 people ever tune in at one time.
Hashtag
Because
humble
I haven't
brag.
streamed in like 3 years, but yeah, it's just to try to help promote the channel, and then eventually the live streams will only go on the YouTube channel, because that's that's where we want people to find us. So
Right.
but yeah, what's up, Evan? All right, so we're all in agreement. Armageddon is F tier for like fucking forever.
Because we didn't want to miss a thing.
It is it's so F tier. All right, so you've argued F tier. You want to go next, or
You want to pick another one, or do you feel? Because we don't have to.
No,
put
I
three
think we have
movies.
to. I think we have
Should
to.
we?
And if you feel like the one you pick as worst among these isn't F because it's still not as bad as Armageddon, we can put it in D or C or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, I would say try to pick a weak one.
I feel like I'm anticipating getting defensive because I'm afraid
of
what
course.
one of my movies are going to be.
Oh,
As long as it's
yeah.
not F,
We'll get
I'm
into
gonna
it.
try
I'll
to
be
guess
okay.
what
Yeah.
your favorite is, and I'm gonna F tier that piece of shit.
I'm destroying Starship Troopers.
Ooh boy.
LOL. I'm sick of watching this fucking Armageddon trailer. I gotta turn that shit
I didn't
off.
want to miss a thing though.
Shut up.
This
This is challenging, right?
this might be kind of controversial. Out of the ones that we haven't ranked yet,
Mhm.
I think the worst is probably Rogue One. I am
I have to hear this.
I am not a fan of Rogue One. I think it's probably the outside of whatever the last mainline Star Wars movie was, episode 12 or whatever the fuck, or 9, I don't know. Outside of that last one, I think it's the weakest Star Wars.
My work here is done, and I didn't have to lift a finger.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think it's good. I think
Are you arguing for F tier? What D tier? Like what are you arguing?
I'm
for that
saying
one?
I would put it on D tier. It's definitely better than Armageddon.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's low on my list for sure.
What is the thing about it? And maybe let's first compare it to other Star Wars stuff.
Sure. Well, I think
Where
that,
does it stand among Star Wars stuff?
well, yeah, I think it's the worst Star Wars movie aside from the last one, episode
9.
Is it 9? Yeah, or at least it's my least favorite. Now don't get me wrong. I think visually it's very well shot and directed. I love the vibe that it has to it on a visual level, but on a story level, I think that it really falls short, specifically because it's a movie that like we all sort of know the ending to. Going into it, it's like, okay, we know that Rogue One, the squadron, gets killed. They die before A New Hope.
And we know they succeed in getting the plan.
Yes, exactly. So going into it, I was like, okay, So what are they going to do with it? Like, we already know how it's going to end, theoretically, in the sense that, you know, we know that they're not going to survive. So my expectation was like, okay, they're really going to make us care about these people. Like, they're going to make it some kind of fun ensemble thing where like the characters have a lot of charm, and they so that their deaths have like a lot of gravity to it, because it's kind of
Kind of
inevitable.
Game of Thrones us, make you fall in love with people that you know
The
tragedy.
Exactly,
gravitas of
exactly.
the tragedy of what happens.
It would have been a lot more effective if, first of all, like, I don't even remember most of the, like, I thought that they were so forgettable, and as characters were very bland. Like, it didn't stand out to me as something that was effective at making me like want them to succeed all that much. Like, I don't know, it wasn't. I feel like it should have been a lot more charming, and the characters should have really tried to pull you into it and make you care about them as characters more than it did. So I felt like it fell short of that, and for that reason the movie wasn't like super effective. Like, I felt like if you're gonna tell that story, you know, you gotta bring something else to it. But yeah, all that to say, it just wasn't really my favorite. Although, you know, this Darth Vader scene at the end, that was pretty cool, I
That's
got to admit. And the
Oh,
space
man.
battle was great. There's good stuff in it. I just, as a whole, I think it just falls short.
Mm.
Yeah.
Would you also put it in D tier, or you want to argue something different?
I wasn't gonna until Josh started talking, throwing out like reasons. No, I cackled because I was like, I'm ready to fight you as Rogue One not being the worst Star Wars. And then, like, as you're explaining your reasons, I'm sitting here and thinking of Felicity Smoke and Smoke, who played Jason. Oh, I'm killing the names.
See,
And
you're
then
making
adding-
this point for him.
I don't even
Forgettable.
know
Characters
who you're
Characters are
talking
completely
about.
forgettable.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
And then I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking like, well, I mean, I really liked the blind guy. Wait, what was his name?
Right?
You know,
Forrest
and then he
Whitaker.
had a partner who was a heavy gunner, and then there's Andor, which
Sure.
I have remembered even before the show
Mhm.
because K2SO
Right.
was hysterical,
Yeah, why is the robot the most likable character? Like, that doesn't make any
Agreed.
sense.
and it really, honestly, like, I hate to add to this because I really did want to fight you on this. Jalen Urso, that's her name.
Jalen?
Jalen.
See, I have no clue. It's the main character.
The main character, the main
What the
female
fuck is her
protagonist
name?
in this
Jin
film.
Urso.
Jin.
Jin. Oh my God.
name was
Galen
Jin.
Urso. Galen Urso is her father. That's why I'm mixing it
Oh,
up.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Which I have a bone to pick with that, which was had always been my annoyance with Rogue One, was that they gave the name Galen to another character. And Galen Marek was my favorite Star Wars character in the whole universe from Star Wars Force Unleashed. And they took his name and gave it to this, and I was like upset about that.
Evan
Anyways,
says Jane Forgettable Urso. He also says
May
I
as well
don't.
be Jane Doe. Yeah.
He also
no
says
lightsabers, you're dead.
I don't agree with the 9 take. I liked 9.
Oh,
Last Jedi was the worst in the franchise by a country
See,
mile. There was no lightsaber. 0 out of 10.
see, I feel like there's two schools of thought. Either you hate episode 8 or you hate episode 9, and it's like you can't really do both. I feel, because it's
No.
like either you agree with Rian Johnson's direction or you don't, and
Yeah.
that's really where the problem is. And I'm personally like, I thought the Last Jedi was okay.
Which
There
one
was-
had
it
the
had a lot of
casino?
flaws. That was the Last Jedi.
That was
That
the
shit
last.
sucked.
Fuck that.
that whole scene, that whole sequence was
That was
god
terrible.
awful.
So
That made the rest of that
Anyway.
movie moot.
yeah. It's got tons of flaws.
So my issue. So to me, Episode 8 is my least favorite Star Wars film.
Sure.
And then 9 comes up after because they spent 9 cleaning up so much about 8,
right, right.
which screwed it up. 9 could have been a great film or a fine film, but they had to retcon or fix so much that you spent half the movie. And I've seen other TV shows that will spend an entire season fixing last year's
100%.
things and sequels that do the same thing. So that's why those Supermaning back to the ship.
Yeah, Princess Leia Supermaning back to the
That
ship.
was god awful.
You know what? No, hold on. But that was a moment where I felt very vindicated, where I was like, ha, I knew it.
Right.
because
right,
I
right.
always, Yoda said there was 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
there is
man, what a
another.
fucking
But did he
hokey way to
mean
do
Luke or
that,
Leia?
dude. Like,
Yeah.
I
that's
know.
insane.
I
Like,
was
you have
way
a-
too in the hype. When I saw it again, I was like,
Right.
oh god.
But you know what? Star Wars Visions
Yes.
with the one from Studio Trigger, where they have the lightsaber battle outside the ship.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh man. Okay, I'm
That
not gonna
sounds
spoil it.
fucking awesome.
It's fucking amazing. But at least that came out after that gave us like, okay, maybe it is possible that some Jedi can like survive in the vacuum of space.
Right.
Plo Koon.
Yeah, exactly. So
Plo
I thought
Koon
that
can
was like
survive out there.
I was like, all right, at least they brought something else into the universe that lets us kind of relax a little bit about the Leia thing.
Mhm.
But I agree, there was so much trash to that. Wasn't 8 the one, however, where what's her name stays on the ship
Yep.
and light speeds
Yes.
into
That
the
was fucking awesome.
That-
That was so cool.
yeah, see, that's the problem with 8 is
Mhm.
that they have hits and misses.
Oh, for
and the
sure.
misses are the worst.
And
Yeah.
the hits
But
are
that
the
hit
best.
was
Great.
fire.
Yeah.
And the fact that they respected that there's no sound in space
Yep.
Yeah.
in that, where you just have a blast of light and the ship punching this giant fucking the whole wing of that thing off, and there's no sound to it. I thought that blew me away because I watched it in
Yes.
theaters, and to me, that's one of the greatest moments in
Yeah.
Star Wars and maybe sci-fi. And a lot of people laughed at that and said, well, then why wouldn't there just be like light speed missiles?
Right.
Why wouldn't there be light speed weapons? Like, because if it's so devastating,
Mhm.
then that would be the ultimate weapon. You just put them on every ship, have a torpedo that just fucking goes light speed.
Right. Or an
Um,
unmanned ship that can just do that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like kamikaze drones and stuff. But, whatever. We can make arguments of like, oh, the drive has to be of a
Yeah.
certain size and complexity to achieve light speed and things
Sure.
like that. But
Someone
whatever.
has to manually put in the control.
But
Whatever.
still, the visceral
Yeah.
response I
Oh,
had
yeah.
to that moment
Yeah.
it says everything, I think.
It was intense.
It
I
was-
remember
yeah.
when I went to the theaters to see it, the theater that I went to, and then I heard other theaters in Orlando had done this too. They had to put up signs that they printed out, and they said at one point in this film, at such and such minutes, there will be no audio. It is not a
broken.
glitch. It is
Yeah.
not broken. Please don't ask for
It's-
a refund.
Yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah.
for theatrical
Yeah, you
effect.
can
Yeah.
blame the vacuum of space for that one. You don't
And
get
I
to-
could hear people gasp
Yeah, that was a huge
in the
moment.
silence.
That was a huge moment.
I think it was unbelievable.
That was
But
incredibly effective.
yeah, so,
It's just one of those things are like, yeah, I think the whole point about, oh, why don't they do that all the time? That's a valid criticism, but like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care why they don't, like, I don't know. Star Wars is one of those things where it's like, it doesn't really have to make sense. Like, you don't, I don't
It
know.
shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
We can be fantastical with it, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can have fun.
Yeah, it's one. Yeah, I'm like, they did it once. That's fine. I don't need to know why the Galactic Federation doesn't have an armada of ships that can do that. Like, it's whatever. It was a
Yeah.
cool moment, and I appreciated it for what it was.
yeah.
But yeah,
What's up, Kingslayer Sloan? Welcome, man. Good to see you again. So, Evan, we have to catch up with what Evan said. He said, I hate the lightspeed kamikaze. You can't introduce a I win mechanic that has seemingly never been used to date. Why aren't
Sure.
there unmanned ships with hyperdrives as intentional weapons that destroyed literally anything? Art knows my talking point ahead of time.
yeah.
Ark says, don't know much about movies, but this stream's very cozy. Thank you. Welcome. I mean, this is the kind of, you're in the living room with us just talking shit
Yeah.
about movies. Just use a droid and a junk cam with a hyperdrive. Yeah.
R4
Totally.
next.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, can you imagine if our units just had like
Oh, Jesus
fucking
Christ.
lightspeed drives who just like
That'd be
fucking
Hilarious.
oh my god.
Fun in my sci-fi franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, unheard of. And they
Yeah.
used that mechanic a second time in the Visions episode you referred to. Oh, they did? I forgot about that.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Have
I didn't
fun,
want
man.
to say anything.
Ah.
Yeah.
See, that's totally fair. Again, I don't give a shit. It's like maybe they just use it once or twice or whatever. It's like, okay, fine.
Look who's here, Sam.
Sam!
Sam says,
No.
embarrassingly, Rogue One was my first Star Wars movie. I was so hyped after seeing it, but after watching the others, I can agree with you guys. Well, you're agreeing with all of Josh, three
Half of
quarters
Carlos,
of
yeah.
Carlos, and
2/4.
an eighth of me, because for me, Rogue One is, and it still is my favorite Star Wars movie. I can absolutely see the points that you guys make.
Mhm.
I know that you lean a little bit towards me in that, you know, you don't think it's the worst.
No, I really enjoy it as a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I agree with the things that Josh said
Mhm.
about the cast. About the cast.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not memorable characters. And I think Andor, the TV show, is trying to fix that.
Mhm.
And that actually increases my affinity for this movie, which already was my favorite Star Wars, because I think Andor is an excellent series.
Right.
Again, it's trashed because there's no lightsaber. You know, it doesn't please the lightsaber crowd.
Mhm.
It is more character driven. It is more
Mhm.
backstory and exposition. And I actually kind of, you know, it's more of a spy series.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's very like slow build
Mhm.
because it's a heist movie. It's like, it's a heist show. It's like all of these things. And I like that there's still some mystery about Andor. Okay, he was in prison and he was in the military, and we're skipping over that. And obviously there's whatever. But anyways, I would be willing, because now we're in the negotiation phase. I would be willing to, because here's the thing. We did all this comparing just now
Mhm.
of it against other Star Wars films.
Mhm.
And that kind of helps us have some of the important arguments. But ultimately, we have to tier this against all of these films.
Very true.
Mm.
So not against other Star Wars movies.
Mhm.
So I could say that against these films, Rogue One, I could put it in C, but maybe I'm just leaning too much on my personal feelings.
Oh.
And I think maybe objectively, the three of us would be more in agreement to D tier it, unfortunately for me.
Against these other movies, I would agree with that. Yeah. There's so much good stuff on here that it's like, if there's a movie that has to sit on D, Rogue One is my pick, and so that
Of these.
of those,
Yeah.
yeah, there that is the movie.
What do you think,
I would
Carlos?
have put it on C.
C tier?
I'm fine with C. I mean, there's others that I'm not super hot on, but I mean, we don't need a movie for every tier.
Yeah,
either.
well,
So
how about
it's like,
this?
yeah,
We could see it for
yeah,
now.
pop it
Yeah.
in the middle.
And then it may get bumped up or down as we put other things in. We may be like, okay, that other thing has to kind of go in C because whatever. But then when you compare them side by side, it pushes one thing further. Okay. I'm down with that.
Side note, I do want to say that Samantha and I, we went to go see Rogue One together,
Nice.
and I knew that was her first Star Wars movie. As soon as we finished it, when we went back home, because we were living together at the time, I
Episode
immediately
4?
put in episode
Yes.
4.
Oh, that's
Because
Yeah.
I was like, you need to see this
you-
immediately while
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fresh.
That
Hey,
is-
Starla.
That is, I think, the one thing that probably everybody can agree on is that the last 5 minutes of Rogue One
Oh,
is
yeah.
one of the best sequences in film.
Mm.
brilliant.
Ends so wonderfully stitched with episode 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, so we've moved on from that, and so who had Armageddon? Carlos did. You had Rogue One.
Yep.
So now
The
I have to
dopest.
try to.
What is your worst pick?
Yeah. Sam says it was a dope night. Kingslayer says I love grittier Star Wars. I'm
I do
with you,
too,
bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Visually, I thought it was great. It's just the characters.
Clone Wars is underrated.
Starla says, honestly, first Star Wars introduction, Clone Wars, which is underrated. Absolutely underrated. And I think a lot of people are going to revisit Clone Wars in anticipation of the Ahsoka series that's going to come out.
Yeah, they gotta.
Yeah.
They gotta see her
Because
backstory.
That is all like, yeah, that's where you get the backstory on Ahsoka. You like
Mhm.
get her whole arc. But anyways, okay. So if I had to pick what I thought was the worst one out of all of these, oh man, let's see. This is gonna be tough. Inception, Jurassic Park, iRobot, Alita, Ghostbusters, Dread, Starship, I Am Legend, E.T., Pacific Rim, Pitch Black, Signs, Independence Day, Matrix, Martian. I'm gonna say I have to think of it as Pacific Rim or Signs for me. I think that the rest of them, stand on really strong legs. Maybe Alita Battle Angel for me is lower on the list.
Mm.
I just think between the two, I haven't seen Signs in a long, long time. Pacific Rim is definitely the best like kaiju mobile suit
Mhm.
movie I think ever made.
Yeah.
And I can increase it. So then if I think about Signs compared to other like suspenseful alien visitation movies, like I could think of 3 movies right off the bat that do better than Signs. I can think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Ugh.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, whatever.
But
So-
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Signs as my lowest on the list here that remains, and I would say, but I will say because it's probably one of the most tight Shyamalans, and I do like Shyamalan, that I won't put it in F. I'll put it in D tier.
I was thinking the
I
same
think
thing.
it for me it's definitely between Rogue One and Armageddon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, because Rogue One does have a lot of great things to it, as we spent so much time talking about. But yes, better than Armageddon, worse than Rogue One. I agree with that.
I think I would lean towards ranking it higher just because like I saw it when I was young and that movie creeped me the fuck out.
Oh, it
like
is.
I totally agree with Mental Toast.
Yeah, it's absolutely
it's terrifying.
terrifying.
That shit is still like that has stayed with me like my whole life. That movie, I remember watching it.
If that was
And-
Shyamalan's point, he made it.
Oh,
he nailed it.
Let me pull up the trailer too.
Oh
for-
yeah, true for
for
Signs.
the sake of Signs.
Just play the video of the Mexican birthday party on loop.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
That's all we need.
Oof.
That was the worst.
That shit was awful, man. When I was a kid, yeah, that freaked me out. So I don't know, like that just because that movie has stayed with me so long, I would lean towards that having a higher ranking than Rogue One. Honestly, I would put that like in the B tier. But as a sci-fi movie, like it's definitely not as good as most of the other movies that are on here. I would say it's better than Pacific Rim. Like Pacific Rim would probably be my next worst one.
I agree with that.
But it's your worst one. We can do
I
whatever.
think in terms of like, if people said which is a better, which is more historically significant in the life of sci-fi as a film genre, then Signs definitely beats Pacific Rim.
Right,
Right.
because Signs has more substance.
Yeah.
Where Pacific Rim has more visual eye candy and the CG and the production of it was higher and better in that sense. But Signs has more substance and it leaves more of an impact. You know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Pacific Rim is kind of like it's S or A tier within its own subgenre of
Right.
science fiction, whereas
Right.
Signs stands on its own legs in the broader category.
Yes.
And I don't want to jump ahead too much, but as we've been doing this, I keep thinking of Independence Day,
Yeah.
where it's for me such an integral sci-fi film, and I don't know, it's important. That president's speech, you got to play it every 4th of July, but yet it is Pacific Rim bombastic and silly and campy and has one-liners, but it's also fun. So right, it's like you're saying, Pacific Rim, Signs, Pacific Rim. There's a fun. It's a hard way to.
They're kind of they're a little too different to compare apples to apples, but
Yes.
you have to think about their strengths within. Does Pacific Rim like break boundaries and deserve to stand against like all these other movies, right? Kind of
Right.
like just in the sci-fi category rather than its own kind of little world. So I can agree with you guys then. I would say Pacific Rim D tier
Sure.
and Signs maybe C at worst, maybe B.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. The more we've been talking, I haven't said this yet, but Pacific Rim, as fun as I had watching it, never was huge into it.
Yeah. No, me neither. Yeah, that's one of those things. It's like
Not terrible film, but
you watch it once and you're like, okay, that was fun.
cool. I got it. Oh, there was a sequel. Neat.
Yeah.
How was it? Oh.
Right. Exactly.
So then would you
Yeah.
say C tier for Signs or B tier? Is it better or the same as Rogue One?
I've thought about Signs a lot more than I've thought about Rogue One,
Mm.
but that's just me. So I would opt for B,
You'd go B.
but I'm fine with it sitting in C as well.
I would say C, but like we talked about Rogue One,
Mhm.
as we talk about other movies, and you brought up an
yeah, it
important
may
point.
move itself up. and
How
down.
is this movie compared to other movies? You know, I feel like C tier is good, and if it bumps up, it bumps up.
Okay. So let's see it and see what happens. Kingslayer says, I'm from New Zealand and Mel Gibson has got me wanting to fight for several countries. Love that dude. You know, he did some good stuff. He did
Mhm.
that Vietnam film that was historically accurate to that specific skirmish in Vietnam. I can't remember the name of
Hmm.
it. He also did Patriot,
Patriot.
Yeah.
where he freaking kills British people with tomahawks. Like, you gotta come on, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The fucking actor who played so and so's dad in Harry Potter was British commander in that film.
Oh my God, was he?
Yeah. What's his name? The what's the stupid blonde kid's name in fucking Harry
Draco
Potter?
Malfoy's
Malfoy,
father.
His dad.
Lucius
Yeah.
Malfoy.
He was in that.
He was the actor that played, I think, the British commander
Oh my
in
gosh.
Patriot.
Oh, that guy's a
Yeah.
great
Google.
like a
He's
legitimately great
fantastic.
actor.
No, he really is.
very, very good.
I feel like
It's unfortunate he's a terrible person.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, he said all this like anti-Semitic.
Oh, Mel
Remember he got
Gibson.
canceled.
Mel
Yeah, Mel
Gibson
Gibson.
is-
Sorry,
okay,
not
got it,
God.
got it.
Oh yeah, no, Mel
Oh,
Gibson
yeah,
is a
he-
terrible human
Guy's a
being.
piece
Yeah,
of
no,
shit.
no.
Yeah. 100%.
But God, is he a good actor?
Really?
Okay, cool. So we did that. So now let's do the difficult task,
Mm-hmm.
which is now that we've sort of
Thank you,
established
Isaac
our
Edwards.
Isaac Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that we've done the difficult task of trying to like establish some baselines,
Yeah,
we have to make all this shit fit.
yeah,
So let's just get right into it. Let's do these in order.
Sure.
yeah.
Inception.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Inception, I would say
Best.
A tier.
A?
Yeah.
It's
Putting that up
S. Oh, ooh, you're right. Shit. Inception. Because if I have to
Present
compare
your
it,
arguments.
because if I have to compare it to Ex Machina, Back to the Future, and Interstellar,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't measure up. But it is amazing. In terms of like Christopher Nolan films,
Mm-hmm.
it not only has unbelievable actors, but it also it was kind of genre breaking in some of the special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I love movies that are like dream within a dream within a dream structure where you don't know whether we're in the ultimate reality or not.
Yeah.
Tenet is a future Nolan film that feeds off of that same thing, but in a different structure, but it's
Okay.
still like, where are we? Like,
Right.
are we in the world? Are we in the other?
Also, note to home, I'm the reason why Tenet is not
Is
on this
not on
list. I
there.
haven't
Thanks
seen
a
it.
lot for
I
that.
haven't seen Tenet either. actually.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking hell.
Not
All right.
alone.
Well, the sad thing is that unfortunately, Tenet is a difficult film to try to do a reaction video. Otherwise, I would definitely suggest we do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But it's I would say Edge of Tomorrow was as close as we could probably get to a movie that would work as a reaction, but
Hmm.
kind of time travel-y because it is disorienting to go, all right, like where actually are we right now?
Right.
But yeah, let me put the
An
Inception
Inception
trailer.
trailer.
up.
James here is saying it's definitely up there. The cultural
Yeah.
phenomenon that came with it and all the water cooler conversation.
Yes.
That's the thing about Inception that it did do. It created huge conversation.
Mhm.
It got people talking. It got people thinking. It made the mind work, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
A good movie is something that makes you think afterward and then gives you something to argue about as well. And
Mhm.
you know,
I honestly, I would probably rank Inception higher than Interstellar, personally. I think, or I prefer Inception to Interstellar. I think Inception was more interesting. It had more to say,
Oh, the hallway fight scene where the
Yes.
hallway is rotating.
and it was way more influential. The visuals of Inception have lasted to this very day, where other movies are sort of taking that as inspiration, the whole folding cities thing, the rotating sets and everything like that. Yes.
Sound effect.
Yes, all of that started with Inception.
You're absolutely right that this was a pioneer and a milestone in cinematography
Yeah.
and production with the hall. As soon as you said the hallway scene, I completely forgot.
Yeah,
They built-
that's why putting the trailers actually is helpful.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
We're
I forgot
remembering
about
this.
that
Absolutely.
until
The fact that they built an entire set to do one shot,
sick.
Yeah. Incredible.
absolutely Inception needs to be S tier here.
Yeah.
And the spinning top at the end,
Yeah.
where they give you that
Yes.
last moment of wait, are we still
Mhm.
in a layer?
It's such a ballsy movie from a general audience perspective.
Yeah.
Like, to have the guts to go and make this thing that is so open-ended and so what's the word? Like, it's just not clear what it is trying to be at the end of it. You know what I mean? Or like what it's so, yeah, it's open-ended. It lets the audience sort of decide what to take away from it. That's something that you don't really get out of big budget blockbusters like that, where like studios, I feel like, lean more towards, okay, it's clear cut, it's something that everybody can enjoy and no one is confused by. But like Inception is like, fuck all that. Like, we're gonna make the most
Yeah.
mind-bendy shit we possibly can. Interstellar has a few of those elements, but it doesn't really go that far into it. I think,
Keeps itself more grounded.
yeah, it keeps itself more grounded, but it also is visually more of a science fiction movie
Until the
than
Tesseract.
Inception.
The other
Yeah.
thing is like
Sure.
I will compare these two films
Mhm.
in a way to say that in both movies nothing is solved. In the end,
Yeah.
nothing is
Ooh.
actually solved, right?
Mhm.
In Interstellar, it's like, okay, great, like they built this ring world and they all escaped it to because the Earth was fucked because of global warming and whatever.
Mhm.
And in Inception, yes, they complete this complicated heist or whatever, but Inception, they don't allow you to know for sure
Mhm.
if you're in the real layer of reality. And in the same in Interstellar too, they kind of say like if time is cyclical rather than linear, then there's no such thing as solving anything.
Right.
Like that is not a thing. There is no final outcome to what you do.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of cool. I can compare them in that way. And also the main actor in Interstellar, what's his name?
McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey. If you think about his performance in Interstellar
Mhm.
versus Leo DiCaprio's performance in Inception, I think Leo DiCaprio has done many more films where he shone brighter than he did in Inception, whereas McConaughey, I think Interstellar was his ultimate performance.
Yeah, definitely one of his I would say his best performance was in Interstellar. But I think, as far as DiCaprio goes, like, it's Inception and what's that
The Revenant?
one? No.
Because that's the one he won an Academy Award for.
Yeah, The Revenant
Long
was great.
overdue.
I think, oh, absolutely.
Long overdue.
Oh, of course.
Leo getting that Academy
Yeah.
Award.
What's that Insane Asylum one that he was in?
Oh, Shutter Island.
Shutter Island.
with Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is personally my favorite performance from DiCaprio.
Because to me, and I go on that note, I felt like his performance in Inception was very reminiscent
yes,
of Shutter Island.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
very related, the two.
But I think Leo didn't have range in Inception. He played
Sure.
Leo in something. Whereas in these other ones,
Fair
he
enough.
was an actor that had an arc and had a build
Mm.
and it showcased talents.
Yeah, I agree with that.
McConaughey wasn't being McConaughey in Interstellar. He was being a full everything. Like, I think all of his chops had to come into it to make it a success.
Agreed. I agree
But
that
Inception is an ensemble piece, and Interstellar, I think, really just featured that.
Yeah,
yes,
Just him and the
yeah. I
daughter.
mean, Interstellar did have key characters. I mean, Anne Hathaway is in that.
Right.
Oh gosh,
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine is in it.
of course.
He's also in Inception.
Yeah, he's one of the
He's in
Nolan
Inception?
gang.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in Inception.
he's in
What?
the gang. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But and I always forget his name. He's from Westworld.
In
What did he do
which
in
one?
Westworld? What was his
I don't know,
character?
it was just spoilers. He was one of the architects of Westworld with
Anthony Hopkins
Anthony
and Ed
Hopkins.
Harris. Those were the two
Ed Harris.
founders
Yeah.
of Westworld in the
Um,
series,
I'm gonna Google it.
the TV show.
He's fantastic, but he's
Ed
also
Harris
in it.
walks on water. He's just fucking amazing.
That guy's incredible.
Have you seen the movie he did a long time ago with Lawrence Fishburne and Sean Connery, where he was like he was a prisoner, like serial killer, and it was like filmed in the Florida Everglades.
No,
I can't remember the name of that movie.
Jeffrey
Sounds
Wright.
Jeffrey
That's
Wright.
what I'm
That's the
Yeah.
thinking
guy.
about.
Okay,
Fantastic.
You know, Jeffrey Wright did an interview after Batman, and they were like asking him what it was like on set and stuff. And he said between takes, he was always on his phone playing on chess.com.
No way.
Yeah, like in a big interview,
Wow.
like during like the press junkets. And so we reached out to him. We were like, hey, do you want to like play in an event of ours in the future? So maybe we're going to see Jeffrey Wright play in
That'd
a
be really
chess.com
cool.
tournament.
Dude, that's sick.
But yeah. Samantha says Tom Hardy was the standout in Inception, coming from an old school Leo fan. I actually agree with that. I think Tom Hardy
Yeah.
left a bigger impression on me in Inception than Leo did.
I think that was one of Tom Hardy's best performances. Sam, you can fight me or add to me on that, but yeah, I think that was one of his best performances.
Yeah, that was pre Mad Max as well.
Mm-hmm.
And,
was really good.
And it was pre
Pre-
Bane.
Batman.
Yeah.
Yep. Pre-Bane.
Yeah.
What's his name? Joseph Gordon-Levitt was also
Of course.
very, very good in that.
I think that's the part that brought him back to Hollywood.
Yes.
Right.
And then from there, he scored all of these other films.
And
Yeah.
was able to just do his own independent work and just be able to launch
Yeah.
his Apple TV show. No, yeah, exactly. This movie brought yes.
It was
Okay.
Great cast.
So then let's argue for it. I think we're on the same page that it's either S or A tier.
Yes.
I'm gonna say S.
I would say it's at least on par with Interstellar, personally.
Yeah, because like you brought up in the beginning, which led us to this wonderful rabbit hole of conversation. It
But
did a
then does
lot
that
for
bring-
cinema.
But does that bring Interstellar down with it into A, or does it bring Inception up to S?
I would vote moving
Because then you have to
Interstellar
think
down
about-
into A, personally.
Yeah,
But-
because I
yeah.
can't put Inception and Back to the Future together.
Wait, so you mean Interstellar and Back to the
Or yeah, I can't put Inception up there next to Back to the Future.
No, I agree.
Mm.
And if we say that Inception and Interstellar are on the same level, that means Interstellar has to come down to meet Inception.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha,
If we put
gotcha.
this here,
Right.
I feel like if you're saying this doesn't deserve to be above this, then I can't do this because I can't put Inception and Back to the Future in the same place.
Oh, okay, got it.
If that makes sense?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
How does that look to us?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park is so good.
I'm gonna say S tier. That movie was incredibly important.
Let me get the trailer going there. We can get a little, not that we don't know every freaking
Mhm.
moment in that movie.
I'm gonna hold myself back. I just caught myself about to start talking. I'll let one of you guys go first this time.
So
Alright, yeah.
I also think S tier, 100%. And not just because I have the nostalgia of being a kid and being
Mhm.
obsessed with dinosaurs before that movie came out. You know, we all thought we were going to be paleontologists and stuff after Jurassic Park. Like, oh yeah, that's what we got to do. But watching it again as an adult, I think I watched it maybe 8 years ago. I sat down and I watched Jurassic Park 3 times in a row, back to back, because I wanted to find the more mature themes
Right. Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
And there's actually some really deep stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the scenes that people forget, or maybe they remember for like a very simple reason, when they are done doing the tour and they're all sitting down to dinner
Mhm.
in that dark room with like the projectors projecting different things along the walls around them, and they're being served like a chicken dinner after they just watched like a T-Rex eat a goat or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember, they're like,
Yeah.
who's hungry?
Mhm.
Right? And people remember that because just visually it was interesting and there was a couple good jokes in it. But I think there it is, yeah,
That
with
conversation.
Goldblum, where he's trying to make the point that the hubris that is on display there
Mhm.
is insulting, and he uses that term that what they are doing is a rape of the natural
Right.
order of things. And that whole debate, I wish I could play it so we could listen to it, but
Mhm.
the writing of that scene, the 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 just, I don't know, the performance of it from Goldblum, and the deeper message, I think it hits on everything that happens in the film, and is also very relevant to the things that we're doing today, the fears that people have with particle acceleration, like, are we
With
gonna create a
AI,
black hole
sure.
on Earth and suck ourselves into
Mhm.
nothingness, like
Yeah.
with the way that we're pushing boundaries and stuff, and
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's that classic sci-fi message of like humans should not be playing God, like science has gone too far, or whatever. But it's so viscerally interesting because it's fucking dinosaurs, and that's so cool.
Mhm.
So it has
Because what's the worst that could happen with dinosaurs? You know what I mean?
right, it has those elements to it. Like it's very thematically deep. Like there's a lot that you could read into it. And it also has fucking dinosaurs in it. Like it's the best of both worlds when it comes to sci-fi. Like it's a lot of fun and it's really fun to watch. But it also, yeah, it's got things to think about and it's got some stuff to chew on.
Yeah.
Including lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ba-dum-dum.
Yeah,
And
and,
it's-
it has Jeff Goldblum's chest hair.
Oh, of course. Yeah, S tier. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
And it's a gold standard in practical effects.
That's
really is.
that's one, that was the
Absolutely.
main reason I wanted to put it in S tier. Spielberg, obviously a revolutionary in films, and this was just another notch in his belt of how he created standards for practical effects and shots, and yeah, it absolutely is up there. I mean, those effects are going to last forever.
100%.
And was this Michael Crichton, the
Yeah.
book?
Mhm.
Michael
He also
Crichton
did
novel.
Andromeda Strain, if I'm not mistaken. And that was also very much a story on this is what you get for
Mhm.
fucking with biology.
Yeah.
And well, to some extent, because originally the thing, it arrives from outer space, but what we do with our discoveries matters, and it determines the course of human history and stuff. And yeah, this sort of morality question
Mhm.
is very strong in Jurassic Park. Obviously this is based on a book, but you can really fuck up making movie adaptations of books.
100%.
And I think Jurassic Park was an example of how to do things right, how to interpret things for film.
Yeah, 100%. It's such a tragic irony what happened to that franchise in a way, because it's sort of it's become the thing that it was criticizing. Like it was about how like you shouldn't make a display out of like how a cheap thrill isn't worth all of this stuff. And as the franchise has grown, it's just become sort of worse and worse over time because they're doing exactly that. They're just
Josh, that is such a that is a chef's kiss.
Yeah.
that's what you get.
Of a observation.
It's
Because I had a blast watching whatever the last one was called,
Mhm.
but it
Where
was
they just brought back everybody.
because it was
Mhm.
just fan service.
Yeah.
It had no substance, and it became a spectacle of itself,
Yeah.
detrimental to an actual storyline. And
Wait, you're saying you
Absolutely.
didn't like Evil Steve Jobs?
Like Jurassic Park has turned into the park. Like
Yes.
it's not about
the series itself.
the series itself
Yeah.
is now the park that they were criticizing. Like the whole movie is about this shouldn't exist.
this shouldn't keep going.
We shouldn't be doing this.
This
And then-
ended. It's over.
Yeah, and then they just did it again and again and again.
Yeah, and they won't stop.
Yeah, and like it's sort of like I can't tell if that's.
Yeah, that's such a great observation.
I would almost say that it's on purpose, but I know that it's not.
It's
Like,
not.
It's just people wanting to make money. They're pursuing this thing to as far as it'll go out of.
And that's
greed.
exactly
That's
what the first
exactly
movie
what
is
the message
about.
is about. Yeah.
You know what somebody should have done
They just threw it
when they
away.
were pitching the most recent ones?
Yeah. In the boardroom, they should have done the.
Oh, sun's
Whoa.
getting real low.
You don't want to make any more movies.
Shit is so silly.
Okay, so I think we're all on the same page. Jurassic Park is S tier.
S tier, baby. We're halfway done. Look at
Oh
that.
wow! All right, some great discussions coming out of this too. It's really fun revisiting a lot of these and kind of making making our own, sort of arguments. I think it's even interesting when we disagree.
I like that when we disagree because the valid points that are coming up, and we all have our own convictions, our own things, and our own reasons, but it's really good to have a discussion like civil people. We can do this. It's okay.
Especially when it's like, it's movies,
Star Wars?
Yeah.
No, bring up the valid points, and if you disagree, that's okay. But no, it's great to
You got the fucking robots trailer.
This is robots.
Okay,
Fucking
S
trailers.
tier, by the way. Why is that not on the list? That movie fucks, dude. This movie's so good.
Well, actually, if we can, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. If you guys want to keep conversation going,
Sure.
Actually, I was gonna hold it in for the next 4 hours, but I'm gonna use the bathroom as well.
Fuck off. All right, we'll trade because I'm desperate to go.
Okay.
I don't care.
Well, true. Okay, go. Yeah. I was thinking that we'd go at the same time and just take a break, but
Just
no.
leave me here.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
Like,
wait
yeah.
a second. Sorry, folks. My first time doing a live
You have a
stream.
third bathroom I can run into real quick?
No, we need to keep the folks entertained. We
Yeah,
need
I
to
guess
keep
we should do that.
talking. I'm so sorry. I almost just walked out on everybody. Aran's the professional. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
We should put robots on the list. I think.
It's
sci-fi.
honestly, I wish we had included other movies, because folks, that's the thing too. This is a list of our favorite sci-fi films that we've all three
that
seen.
all three of us have seen. Yeah.
So
there's-
that's why there's a lot of stuff that's missing, like robots.
yeah.
Space 2001 Space Odyssey. I think one of us, we thought somebody hadn't seen it. That should have been up here. But that's why there's a lot of films on this list that you're going to be seeing that are not on there. We wanted to choose our favorites.
Yeah.
Yes, there's tons of them that should have been up here, but
Yeah, there's a lot of gaps for sure. But there's also, there's so much shit that I haven't seen. I haven't seen any of the Terminators. I haven't seen any of the Alien movies. Like, I am missing a huge chunk of sci-fi that I just never got around to watching.
Aliens for me terrified me as a child. So
Mhm.
I never saw those films.
Right.
The first Aliens movie I think I saw was Aliens versus Predator.
I think that was the first one for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I missed that. The Terminator movies, I've seen part 2 a dozen times. Saw part 1 as homework. Never saw anything after that.
Yeah.
Even though, and I heard the one with Christian Bale was acceptably good, because just as a
Right.
standalone was a good film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For some reason, I just never got plugged into that franchise. And it's so ironic that so many of these classic movies have escaped me, because I worked at fucking Blockbuster and I had free rentals that I could have just taken home at any point, and I just never got around to watching those for whatever reason. But I was thinking actually that robots technically isn't science fiction, because they're just robots. They're not.
Okay, let's argue this.
I mean?
Let's argue this.
Is robots science fiction?
Is robots science fiction?
In the
Haven't seen
world
it.
of you haven't seen it?
Haven't seen it.
All right, folks, we're going to need to
Dude.
pause the stream.
Yeah.
And watch robots.
Just a quick hour and a half detour.
Do you want to tap out and
Yeah,
run to the bathroom?
I'll go.
Okay, cool.
Topic: sci-fi robots discuss.
Barbara Streisand, cheeks like butter.
Discuss.
Discuss.
Discuss. I don't know, dude. In the world of robots, they're people. They just exist that way. You know what I mean? So from our perspective, yeah, it's
Oh, so
weird
it's
that
not
they're robots, but within the movie, they're just that way. They're not robots, right?
I haven't seen it. I don't even remember when
Yeah,
it
I'm
came
asking
out.
you you watched it.
Right?
How have you not seen that movie 1 billion times?
No.
But it's a fun movie. It's got I don't know.
For a while, going back to Jurassic Park, for a while, my favorite one was the third one.
I think that one's Lost World. Forget. I don't know if I've seen any of the
The
sequels.
third one was the one with the actor with 3 names. Which one was the one with Jeff Goldblum where it's about his estranged daughter from his divorce, and they're sleeping in a giant net in the trees?
I don't know. So there's Fallen Kingdom, which I think is the third one, right? And then Lost World was the second one?
Maybe.
I don't remember. But yeah, I know that I think it's Jurassic Park 2. It's got the Jeff Goldblum sort of like prominent subplot, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it's been a while since I've seen the first one.
Oh man, I'd have to say I probably watched Jurassic Park, like the first one, close to 10 times. Oh yeah, number 2 was the one with Jeff Goldblum, says Samantha. Yeah, number 2 was Lost World. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Yeah. Man, are you enjoying this so far?
Oh yeah, this is tons of fun. I love talking about movies. Like,
Sweet.
I fucking annoy so many people because they don't stop talking about movies. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have a venue where it's appropriate. You know.
My wife is always like, how do you remember all of these obscure movie references,
Right.
quotes, actors that were in films, stuff like that? But she's like, but you can't even fucking remember that I asked you to take the garbage out or do the dishes.
It's because one's more important than the other. That's why.
You can't even remember that I told you that I was getting off work at 4. I don't know. Sorry, Sam, if you're listening, but yes, I think movies probably. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking right there. That's where I'm gonna stop.
Fair enough. No, dude, yeah, I'm always looking at things through the lens of like, oh, this is just like that one thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's a function of my brain that is constantly running where it's checking against all the movie scenes that I've seen, and it's like, oh, this is like that thing from that one time. So yeah, it's just it's a constant little thing. There he is.
Hey, he's back. Do you need to run?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good for now.
All right. Robots with Will Smith. Was he in both of them?
Triple S tier.
He could have been.
Triple S tier.
Triple S.
Oh my god.
I
All right.
Robot's a funny one.
I was just complaining about my colleague's lack of movie knowledge. See,
Right?
okay, that hits on it because we were just kind of saying like it's an inescapable part of life at this point.
Yeah.
To constantly compare real life moments to movie references.
Right.
I think that is also a very that's a very palpable thing. When you are hanging out with somebody who hasn't seen like 99% of TVs and movies that like you feel kind of make up who you are as a person, and like that is, it's borderline excruciating to me. And I think what's also frustrating to me about that is if it's somebody I really love, like a friend that I'm just like, I want to help you. I want to help you not be a shit person. And
I'm doing my best. That's why we made this channel.
But there's so
That's
many
so funny.
great films and TV series that you want them to know about that there's just not enough time at this point in life. Like
You can't
if
catch up.
You're in your 20s or 30s. Like, I'm sorry, it's kind of too
It's
late.
too late for you.
You will die before you get to all of the things.
You have a huge letterbox. I will never finish.
Oh, that's so funny.
I think you could catch up.
There's like
I have over
170 movies.
I have over
Damn.
300 movies in my best movies list right
Oh,
now
that's
on
right.
Letterboxd.
It's more than that.
Over 300. But I think it's doable. You just have to come over and watch 3 movies a day for the next
20
well,
years.
10 years.
Easy.
yeah. And the crazy thing is, I would be down for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I
right.
just love movies
yeah.
that much.
Exactly.
I will watch movies 3 or 4 times and I will still love it like it's the first time.
Yeah, no, and I agree. It is really hard to suddenly, be with, you're meeting someone new, or you're talking with someone, and it's just, I am an amalgamation of all the cinema and TV shows I have seen. They have influenced me, especially my childhood years. I still quote lines from movies that were favorites, and I think we all agree when you quote a movie or you say something and someone else in the room picks it up and laughs or delivers the next line.
Best thing in the world.
That is a je ne sais quoi type of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the simpatico. Like,
Right.
That's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, we
We're vibing,
Yeah, we can
Yes.
vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great, it's a shorthand. It's a conversational thing where you're just like, okay, I know that you know what I'm talking about, and like we both we're on the same page,
Yeah,
It's-
it's like
it's
two
great.
people realizing that they like the same football team or
Yeah,
something. Like you're just
exactly.
like, okay, you're good, you're cool.
Oh, you like the Packers? I love the Packers.
Yeah, yeah.
The
If
fucking
this-
Mets, baby, yeah.
If
Home
the
run.
if the zombie apocalypse happened, you know that you would want those people on your crew.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think also too, just as human beings, we just then, when you start, sorry folks, can't speak English. In the zombie apocalypse, you realize you want those people on your team. Yes, you feel a kindred spirit because you're just like, oh, okay, we'll think similarly. We'll act similarly. We will, and it is a survival or survivalist instinct there. It's like, oh, kindred
You could
spirit.
literally sit there in like the building you're hiding in, and everyone can be like, all right, are we going to do the thing from 28 Days Later? Or are we going to do the thing from World War Z?
Right.
Are we, like,
Yeah.
you
Are we
even
misting
approach-
this and we're just going 6 of us in a line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, you're like, oh, you've heard the same fables that I have. Like, you've heard the
Yes.
tale of what happens when you do this, this, and this.
Yes,
Yes,
we know all the cautionary tales.
Exactly,
and-
exactly. It's the
Don't do what Bill Paxton did in this
yeah,
film.
yeah. It's the like the cultural fabric of like, okay, we're all sharing the same stories with each other. So
Yes.
it's
and-
important. And genuinely, it's important. I think.
Yeah, and Sam, thanks for agreeing. I mean, Sam and I have had hours upon hours of conversations very similar to what we've discussed right now, and she's chiming in saying exactly that. What do we talk about?
It's the modern day version of like, you know, ancient humans being like, hey, whoa, 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 remember what happened to Ugalug when he
Yeah,
speared
yeah.
that wildcat that one
Haven't you
time?"
heard the fall of
Those
Zagreus? Like,
Those berries are poisonous.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can get through this here. So, iRobot.
I comma robot.
I, comma, no
comma,
space,
That's right.
robot.
Wow, what is that? I never noticed there's no space between the. Wow. Okay.
Better than using papyrus for your font.
Very true.
Virus. I know what you did.
I know what you did, James Cameron. I know what you
Have
did.
you seen that skit?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The papar. Yeah.
Looking
Actually,
right at
every
you.
time I hear somebody else hasn't seen it, I make them watch it
Yeah.
immediately.
It's a great
Yeah.
bit, especially because it's got fucking Ryan Gosling in it, dude.
Yes.
It's so good.
All right.
And,
iRobot.
yeah.
Now this is something that you've mentioned a lot in the past as we watch other films. You draw a lot of parallels to iRobot. So I kind of want to hear your opinion first on where you think this sits.
Okay, so for me, iRobot is a very integral film on the sci-fi subject of AI.
Hmm.
Okay, this is based off a movie. This is based off a book called Do Electric Sheep Do
Android Stream.
Do Android,
Android
Stream
Stream of Electric Sheep.
Yeah. Who is the
Um,
author of that?
Is that an Asimov one?
Yes, Asimov.
Asimov. So this is a very yes, it's action, yes, it's fun. Alan Tudyk, my boy.
Yep.
Alan Tudyk is in
Yes,
He's
he
the robot.
plays the robot.
it? What?
Yup.
Yes. This is how he got K2SO. He just took a screenshot of a film, slid it on the desk, and said, I'm your boy for K2SO.
Was this post Firefly?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Alan Tudyk, phenomenal voice actor.
Wow.
So underrated, dude.
Incredibly underrated. Love you, bro.
Did you guys watch that series that he did that was like about him like going to
Con Man.
conventions? Con Man.
Yes.
Oh. I haven't
Yes.
seen that.
It's
It's
pretty funny.
good
Yeah.
watch. Amazon, I think.
Nonfiction.
It's literally him playing. Well, it's fiction, like it's scripted,
Right.
but it's like him playing himself post Firefly fame.
Yeah. He was
And-
on a sci-fi show that was canceled midway, and one of the actors, Nathan Fillion, had an incredible career afterward.
So a lot of the
he-
running joke is about how Nathan Fillion like made it and he didn't, and like
And he's now
Got
just
it.
like a C-list actor that does cons and does autographs, but he's still trying to do work. So it's all the shenanigans involved with that.
and Nathan Fillion
Right.
does a great job of like playing way more egotistical version of himself,
Yeah.
which is really
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But iRobot, it is in the sense of how I described Back to the Future and how we talked about Jurassic Park being so important to the genre of sci-fi, to filmmaking, to creating milestones like Inception has done. iRobot, I think, did that. iRobot walked so that Ex Machina can run.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to kind of draw some parallels there too. But
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, iRobot is the proto Ex Machina. I can totally see that. It's just it's the mid 2000s. Action movies are huge.
It is the Blade Runner of the 2000s. Now that being said, I would not put it S tier, but I would put it A tier.
It's the bad boys of no. I'm kidding.
Wait, hold on. Then that makes it B tier.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe B tier. Let's hear your thoughts. You know,
Aran, you want to go first?
I definitely think it is a good predecessor to Ex Machina. I don't know personally that Will Smith brought anything unique to it. I feel like he could have been almost any other actor cast in that role, and it would have still been as good as it was with him.
Agreed.
I think that Will Smith was just the hot thing when it was made, and it would sell tickets to what otherwise may have seen as like a less general audience approachable film. It made it sold tickets to people who I think otherwise would not have watched it if it was, you know, some other actors. So that immediately for me takes it out of S and A tier. Because I can't place it even in A with Inception and Interstellar.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I'm totally in agreement. I think B tier is the best spot for it. Because of those exact points. Like just watching the trailer now, I remember like the climax of the movie is him stabbing a hologram in the face, which is like, I don't know, like it's pretty silly, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also, it's not like self-aware enough to be like up with Back to the Future and stuff like that. You know, like there's a level of campiness to it that I think is unintentional, which I think lands it in the B tier, which is like it's still good and entertaining, but it's not necessarily like
it was
the most well crafted.
You said the keyword campiness.
Yeah,
it was doing things and bringing up conversations that weren't had yet. Even though, correct me if I'm wrong, AI with Jude Law and
AI
Sora
intelligence.
from AR
and the kid from
Kingdom Hearts. Just kidding.
Haley
Joel Osment.
Yes.
From the other Shyamalan movie, Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Yep.
I think that AI, artificial intelligence, maybe came out before this and started the conversation about AI, and studios had probably heard about that, came up with this film or what have you. But I agree with what you said about the campiness. That's what I meant to get back to. It was not, there was too much going on. Will Smith, explosions, actions, car scenes, guns, that it loses, it dilutes.
Yes.
Yeah. It dilutes the conversation of what this movie is about, what the book was about. And it drops it in tears.
Yeah. Like that scene where it destroys the house with a giant tractor. Like that's so over the top. And it's like, you didn't need an action beat there. Like you could have just made it more suspenseful and, you know, but it's, again, it's like the mid 2000s. Yeah. Everything needs to have this big boom explosion type
thing.
And
going to what Aran said, the protagonist could have been played by Denzel Washington, could have been played by Wesley Snipes, could have been played by Michael B. Jordan, could be played by anybody else.
Denzel
it did not matter.
Holy shit, that would be so
good.
This was Alan Tudyk's film.
Actually, I agree with that. But man, you brought up Denzel.
It would be
Denzel could have brought something to this movie.
Would have made it more serious in tone.
Made me elevate it because Will Smith is still playing kind of like a Men in Black,
smart
Bad
Boys.
Bad Boy. What was that other one where he was like a asshole superhero?
Hancock.
Dude. He's got a kind of like amalgamation of those three roles in this one.
Yes.
Where he's just like too overly suspicious of everybody and like trying to be too cool for school. Whereas like other actors might have brought a little bit more seriousness that would have elevated the cautionary tale aspects of the film. Whereas Will Smith kind of knocked it back down into action.
Yes, absolutely. It tries a little too hard to be really cool. Which I think is kind of its biggest flaw.
And that was what made those early 2000s films popcorn flicks.
Absolutely.
You know, they were just blockbuster films.
And it
That's
also makes me-
fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also makes me think about what Tom Cruise would have been like in that role, because this reminds me very much of when Minority Report
Yes.
was coming out. And I don't know, all three of us haven't seen Minority Report.
I've seen it.
I have not seen it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to go into it too much, but it was very much in the similar vein of like, here's this technology that we can't help but try to use and apply to our society for the betterment of society
Mhm.
that ends up actually not being a great fucking idea, right? In the same vein of like the Jurassic Parks. But I could put Tom Cruise in there instead
Yeah.
of Will Smith, and it would still be what it was.
Yeah, it's a Tom
Right.
Cruise role for sure. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's that action man role.
Action man.
Action man.
Action man now.
Where you run and you jump because the tractor is destroying this house for no
Yes,
reason.
for no reason
And-
whatsoever. Where Denzel Washington, that
That would have been so much more interesting.
man is a dramatic actor. He is a character actor, and retract that
he did
statement.
that one movie, The Book of Eli,
Yes, dude.
where he finally did like an action film where it's like swords and guns and stuff. We hadn't seen that from Denzel yet.
No,
That's true.
And he pulled that off.
yeah, he did. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So to add to your argument, imagine Book of Eli with any other actor playing that protagonist, and that is what I'm hearing when you say
Yes.
this film with Will Smith could have been anybody, but Denzel elevates the film.
Oh yeah.
And the difference of Denzel doing Book of Eli versus swapping him in that movie with different people
It
was that
yeah.
we saw a new thing that Denzel could do.
Mhm.
Whereas with this, we're not seeing anything new from Will Smith.
No.
Same shtick. Imagine Book of Eli with Will Smith at this time.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
It would have been iRobot.
It would not have been special.
I would
just-
not
yeah.
even watched it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great, like, almost direct comparison
Mhm.
in the sense that it's two movies that are in similar genres, where one has a totally different tone.
Yeah.
But they both deal with sort of outlandish or
And
strange concepts. and
yes,
stuff.
the human part of the human condition, and that's yeah.
All right. So then iRobot, where does it fall?
I'd say BC.
Because compare it to Signs,
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
which is more historically significant in the genre of sci-fi.
Definitely
Science.
science.
Yeah.
100%.
So if that's the case, then you see, my argument would be I would put iRobot next to
Pacific
Rim.
Rim.
Because I don't think it's as historically significant as Rogue One or Signs.
yeah.
And I don't think that putting iRobot in the C tier is justified enough that we move these two up to B and but say that iRobot's that much better than Pacific Rim.
I
buddy.
think it's better than Pacific Rim, but not by much. So I think D. Yeah, we could put it up on D.
I would say D. I agree, because like Pacific Rim, all the bombasticness, all
Yeah.
the epicness
Mhm.
Yes.
is what dilutes the material, the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it had delivered on the promise of a greater theme,
Mm-hmm.
then I would maybe put it above Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
It's got some of that with like the laws of robotics and the mystery surrounding the creator and stuff like that, but it doesn't really go all that far into it.
No, it doesn't. It sticks to the formula of we need this movie to come out in the summer.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
hot right now.
It's July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Will Smith doing?
I think if we had to stretch, we would say that the greatest contribution that iRobot makes is that it inspires other movies that
True.
do it better.
Which
Yeah.
is very important.
That's true.
It's
That's true.
important, but we're trying to judge it also on its own legs, and I just don't think it's strong enough.
Exactly.
Fair
When
enough.
it comes down to it and we look at this, it does not stand as strongly as a giant mech fighting a kaiju.
Okay.
So there we go.
D tier.
All right, Alita Battle Angel. I would say that this, in my mind, it's very similar to what we just discussed as being the weaknesses of iRobot, but the difference to me is that it's a couple things. One, the CGI is just so damn impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it brings something that was little known. Right? It's based on a manga, right?
Yep, of the same title.
And brings it into the mainstream. I think it was very successful in the box office. I also think that it does touch on deeper themes of like self-discovery, because she doesn't really like understand her own origins.
Well,
We
she
have a sort of Pinocchio-esque situation with like the person that maintains her
yes.
as being like a, what's the character's name?
I can't remember the
The
character's name.
the doll maker, the puppet maker.
Yeah.
Oh, Geppetto.
Geppetto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of that too. Except he just finds her in some trash, right?
Right.
Oh, let me
and,
get the
and
trailer
her
up.
memory is wiped.
Yeah.
So she starts from scratch and she's finding who she is, which, yes, goes into an AI becoming a human, like Pinocchio becoming a real boy, but is a very familiar theme to humans, to us, finding who we are and learning our principles and learning our boundaries.
Yeah, this movie grew on me. When I first watched it, I was like, it felt, I don't know, just kind of like cheap and I don't know, it just didn't really land with me. But like the more I thought about it, I was like, that was actually, I enjoyed that quite a bit. Like it was badass and fun, but it really leaned into that, and like that's what it was about in a lot of ways, was just having like a fun sort of, action type movie. But
So I read a lot of Battle Angel Alita years back. I had been looking forward to this film. And the film is a really good adaptation. I won't say it's perfect.
Mhm.
And the reason it's not perfect is because, to its flaw, it squeezed in too many volumes of the manga into the film.
So it compressed the storyline too much.
Yep.
see, that's the thing is, yeah, I haven't.
It mixed, like, the rollerball aspect of it was separate from the beginning of her being found and created. The love story that happens in the movie happens after the first arc of her being found and created, where they're happening simultaneously. And that is the executive producer formula for a blockbuster hit.
Right.
We've got rollerball, we got love for the ladies, and we got self-discovery, which will be the overlying thing, and it dilutes the story.
Yeah.
That movie could have been 2 movies.
Oh, definitely. I think it
Right.
could have been a 3-parter even.
Yes.
Just
And
condensed.
it was too condensed, and it takes away, like we've been talking about, from the actual story, and you lose the substance and the heaviness of what it could have been and what it was in manga form.
See, yeah, I didn't read the source material, but you can definitely feel that. Like just having watched the movie, it feels like there's a lot that has been shoved into it to make
Yes.
it a tight action blockbuster
Mhm.
instead of allowing the themes to breathe and splitting it into 2 or whatever. Because that's a much bigger risk when you try to when you're banking on there being a sequel without releasing the first one or knowing if it's going to flop or whatever. So
Yeah, and the studios can back out if the
And it was a
box office is too weak in the first one,
Yeah.
even though they've kind of quote unquote committed.
right.
They have the power to walk away from those contracts and say like, yeah, I mean, the first one bombed. What do you think the second and third ones are gonna do?
Yeah.
We're gonna lose money on these.
Yeah.
Plus, it was a February release. I just realized it came out on Valentine's. Which feels like
That's a little weird.
they didn't have the most confidence. Like
Yeah.
either you release that before Christmas or you put it in the summer. If you really are
Yes.
banking on it making,
And this should have been a summer flick.
Yeah. So where should it go?
I think one of the strongest things about it was that it did mocap so well.
Yeah.
The technology behind
Motion
producing
capture
this film.
where the actress gets to play the part.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I think especially the facial expressions. They did such a good job of interpreting the facial expressions of the actor that it kind of avoided, I forget what the scientific term is, where the closer you try to approach realism in computer generated faces, the uncanny valley.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That it's that much harder to sell. It's more obvious in a way as you
Yeah.
try to
Yes.
approach real detail.
Mhm.
And so I like that they kind of puppy dog eyed her to say like, look, we're going to try to do a really great job, but we're also going to avoid the uncanny valley issue because we're allowing it to still remain somewhat stylized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
because that's what she looks like in the manga, because manga style of that time and era is those large anime
Mhm.
80s style. And I think as an adaptation, that was a smart move
Mhm.
to decide, okay, we're going to do mocap, let's CG her. Well, she's an AI. We don't have to make her look like a human, and we can avoid those errors
yeah.
Mhm.
in the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
That was a choice. I
It
think.
was a
Absolutely,
choice.
yeah.
And I want to say too, it was James Cameron
Yeah.
creating that mocap technology to use in this movie.
Right.
Just like he created the 3D effects to do Avatar and
Yeah.
so on and so forth, as he's done throughout his career.
Yeah, and maybe this was a playground for the tech that they needed to do,
For sure.
Avatar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's great in terms of like if we look at it within the subgenre of cyberpunk,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
did a great job
Great
at like
cyberpunk movie.
cyberpunk universe like stuff. I
Yeah.
think sad to say because Ghost in the Shell is, I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about the entire Ghost in the Shell universe. It was probably the best, cyberpunk anything besides maybe the Blade Runner films.
Right.
But the new Ghost in the Shell film that they did with
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett
Johansson.
Johansson, man, fuck, what a disappointment. I think Alita beats them
Mm.
in terms of building a future cyberpunk universe.
Yeah.
Which is
And-
sad because Ghost of Shell had so much source material for that.
So much source material. And as far as like adaptations go, was just such a letdown where Alita was just, you can taste it in the scenes, like Josh said, where they compressed and didn't let things breathe and they put too much together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got some weaknesses, it's got some strengths. Where do
Yeah.
we think it aligns in here?
I have either C or D. Probably D.
Well, here's a question. I'm starting to feel like maybe because Rogue One and Signs are in C,
Yeah.
we're kind of
it's-
forcing things into the D category that don't really deserve it.
I agree with that actually. Yeah. I was just gonna
So-
say like it's not up there with those two.
Yeah, but it's not
it's not
as
down
bad.
there,
Like it's
yeah.
not down with these two either.
do you want to
So I
scoot
feel
those
like
up to B?
these have to move up in order
Yeah.
to give us room to put this somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I'd say it
That feels
doesn't mark
right.
the historical significance of these two movies, but it's definitely
It's better than those two.
above these.
Way better than those. Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, also Robert Rodriguez was an excellent choice to direct this movie. Like the Spy Kids guy, like he's done it before. He's a great choice for that, and you can feel his influence in it too.
Side note, I was never a big fan of Robert Rodriguez's like movie direction, but as time has gone on and I've seen more of his work and what he does and how he does it, I've gained more respect for him over the years, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, I grew up on Spy Kids, and like those aren't the best movies by a long shot, but I still like.
Looking back on them though,
Yeah, they were fun kids movies, and this movie has some of that DNA in it that made me nostalgic for it a little bit.
that's Robert Rodriguez's charm. That's his gift, that's his quirk, that's his thing. He is able to give a quiet, wholesome, like good quality to things he works on.
All right. So this is cool. This actually opens it up for us a little bit now.
Yeah, that feels a
Um,
lot better. Actually.
Yeah.
looks
So, man, Shape of Water. That was Guillermo del Toro, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say A for that one. I think A too. Not as groundbreaking or as classically known or as interesting as
Tommy, Shape of Water, written by Bruce Lee.
I really like that one for the quiet. What's the word? It was very intimate, and yeah, I don't know. I liked it quite a bit. It was very simple. Yeah, I'd say A too.
I'm glad you said it that way, because I wanted to first express how I felt after watching this movie. I felt like I was in love.
Yeah, it's a love story. It's-
I
yeah.
genuinely felt the emotions of being in love after I watched this film. I wanted to immediately, I don't do this often, but I immediately wanted to press play and watch it again in the
Mm.
same exact moment. I was enamored by it. The sets are incredible. They are not the typical sets that you see in sci-fi, and especially at the time that this movie came out, it was a different it was just refreshing to see this era and to go into it with a BioShock vibe.
Right.
BioShock being one of my favorite games of all time because it was so Art Deco, but dystopian Art Deco.
That's an interesting comparison.
Yeah.
And
Kinda
this
cool.
movie has a character piece of a character that is mute. She cannot speak. And I believe she's deaf, which is why she's mute.
She kind of reminds me of Amelie.
Yeah.
And it has the Amelie.
Right?
Thank you.
Yep.
You got it out of my mouth.
Yeah.
It has an Amelie vibe
Mhm.
that is endearing and wholesome and interesting, where you want to follow what's going on.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be a sci-fi film in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
I do want to recognize Shannon. Hello, how you doing? Says Inception soundtrack is fantastic. Definitely one of my favorites.
Of course. Hans Zimmer.
Absolutely. Yeah,
What's up,
I think-
Shannon?
I think it's definitely a genre-breaking soundtrack
Yeah.
for science fiction for sure. I mean, kind of in the way that like Vangelis was like, you know, Blade Runner. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with like Vangelis's work, but that kind of like that aesthetic sound.
You just know it's their work when you hear it.
Yeah, and so many films tried to go with that kind of vibe afterwards for those kinds of movies. I think Inception does the same.
Yep.
It set a standard for similar
It did.
stories. This Shape of Water led me to get kicked out of the fish market.
Oh boy. We've all been there.
I'm still not allowed to go to Pike Market in Seattle.
I mean, I gotta say that there were moments during
Grinding Nemo. That's amazing.
oh my god, yeah, there were definitely
Oh, shit,
moments
that's good.
in the Shape of Water that got me going like, I've seen this hentai.
Hubba. No, it was good. Yeah, it's a very, very earnest, very sweet movie.
It was. And Guillermo del Toro, he is everything he creates he's so good at world building is what I'm trying to say. Hellboy.
Yep.
The world building he did that.
Pan's
there.
Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, and you know, now he's got a new series on Netflix called like
Cabinets
The
of
Cabinet
Curiosity.
of Curiosity. Yeah, I haven't watched all of it, but I've watched like 1 or 2 episodes so far. It's
And
great.
of the recent Pinocchio remakes, because
I
there
haven't
were
watched
3
that yet
total.
either.
His is what everyone says. I haven't seen it. Incredible.
Yeah, I've heard it's the best of the most recent deluge of Pinocchio movies from the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we putting it up in A?
Michael Shannon, yes, he does.
Guy
Thank you,
plays
Tommy.
Zod in Man of Steel.
Yes.
Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
Michael
Absolutely.
Shannon.
He was also incredible in so many things that he's done, including Boardwalk Empire.
He's fucking
Was
great.
it the guy who played the sea creature
Yep.
in this? It's the
Oh.
same actor
Yes.
that
Hellboy.
plays like the eyeball guy
Yep.
in Pan's Labyrinth, and he's also in
the
Star
Fawn.
Trek Discovery,
He's in Star Trek
Yep.
Discovery.
and he was the zombie in the original Hocus Pocus.
yes,
yeah.
that is him.
That guy's an absolute legend.
Yes, and he also plays Abe in the Hellboy movies.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
He
well,
is-
that's the thing. I thought that in a sense, the costume here was too similar to that character in
Sad I brought this
Hellboy.
up. Yeah.
that was the one thing I really disliked about Shape of Water. I felt like they didn't do enough character design to differentiate those two.
And you already have Guillermo del Toro attached to it, and
Yeah.
now you have this attached to it.
I basically treat them as the same character in a way where like that is, or like it's one of Abe Sapien's relatives. Where it's
Yes.
like, I just think of it, plus like the obsession with the eggs. Wasn't Abe Sapien like obsessed with eggs, or was that something
It was Grogu.
I feel like that was a common thread between, but it's like,
Wonder.
I just see that as existing in the same universe, or like
mean,
it's another member of that
Hey,
species.
this was the what, 50s, 60s?
Yeah, something
It
like
could
that, yeah.
still be him
Yeah, it could still
because
be.
Hellboy was like more modern day.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s originally, or
Yeah.
2000s.
They broke
So-
up. You know, they had a terrible divorce.
He's
Yeah,
learned how to
yeah.
speak English.
Oh,
She
right,
got,
he learned how to
she
speak.
got half of everything.
She took half the water.
And then and then he fell on bad times.
This incredible prequel. One of the
Yeah.
best prequels I've ever seen.
Yeah. In my mind, it's just like he had that character. He was like, I want to tell a love story with this character. Let's just do something a little bit different.
Yeah, but isn't it based on a short story or a book?
Could be. I wouldn't doubt it.
Now we go. Yeah, our historian needs to get in there and.
Jim, where you at, buddy?
Yeah. So
Maybe B. It's
well,
great.
let's see.
but-
That brings it into Rogue One and Signs universe. Whereas if we go a step above, that we're comparing it with
To
Inception and
Inception?
Interstellar.
Inception is huge, man.
But I think in terms of filmmaking, let's forget it
Sure.
in the sci-fi genre, and let's judge it on how well it was just making a film.
It is gorgeously crafted.
I think it's a powerful
Yeah.
execution.
Absolutely.
And completely underrated.
Yeah.
You know, it because it doesn't have the spectacles of Inception or Interstellar.
But it has the
Interception.
testicles, wallet, and watch.
Yeah.
No. I actually just thought of a comparison here to now I lost it.
I want
Oh, The Artist.
Oh.
The silent film?
yeah.
Did you
seen
see it?
No.
I haven't seen it.
Again,
either,
I'm
but
picturing
I know the
I'm
movie.
picturing the cover of the DVD.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
guy and the girl in black and white.
Yeah.
All done with one light.
Really?
Yes, that was
Wow.
a photographer feat.
Oh, I thought you meant the whole movie.
No, the famous movie poster for The Artist
Yeah.
is done with one light source.
Because I think both films really crushed being period accurate.
Mm.
Like with the
Yes.
costumes, the color scheme, the architecture,
Yes.
like that. Fucking
And to
all
The
the
Artist,
details.
the cinematography and the camera
Yeah.
quality, the film quality.
Just watching this trailer, it reminds me of how great the coloring was. in this
Yes.
movie.
Yeah, the
like
color.
The
palette
color
was
toning
beautiful.
in this film and the color grading
Yeah.
was absolutely distinct and beautiful.
Those like deep teals, like it's so good.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think wants me to put it in the A tier with alongside Inception and Interstellar.
I'd be sure.
Yep.
Better than Signs.
Yeah, because that's exactly it. This movie, when we think about everything we discussed, what things does this movie do? Well, story incredible, cinematography incredible, set design incredible.
Yep.
And then tone incredible and color grading, the cinematography aspect and the shots incredible. Like it does so many of the categories well, where like we talked about Rogue One and Signs, they do some things really well,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
but they don't check as many boxes
Mhm.
successfully as Shape of Water.
And they feature a great actress too, instead of making that Jennifer Lawrence or some shit, right?
That's
Who
very
would
true.
have fucking ruined that movie?
Yeah. It's
No
very
offense,
artisanal.
Jennifer, I still love you,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so what a great fish out of water story. All right, A tier it is.
yes.
Ghostbusters, ladies and gentlemen, this
Ghostbusters.
is either going to be really easy or really difficult.
I'm
This
totally,
is where friendships are tested.
I am totally fine putting this up with A or S.
Let me get the trailer. up
Ghostbusters
here.
is great. Everyone fucking loves Ghostbusters.
Tommy's
For good
asking
reason.
Michael Shannon, best job ever?
I think that may have been in reference to the actor for Abe Sapien,
Oh, okay, yeah,
that
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Which I honestly watched a video about him. It was like this video is like the best actor you've never heard of or something like that.
Because you've never seen him.
Yeah, he's always in some like ridiculous latex or
Yes.
some huge costume or something like that. And that guy is like an absolute legend. He's also the Baron in the What We Do in the Shadows TV show. You guys have seen that?
Yes, you're right. He is
Yeah.
the Baron. And
Yeah. He's a great actor,
is
like
amazing.
I
legitimately.
love that.
yeah.
He's just got a really weird body that's perfect for covering up in latex, and like
And also
he
just
crushes
a
it.
fucking strong actor, just unbelievably.
Yeah,
good actor.
because
Absolutely.
he can act with motions and movements, and it's not the same every time. And then he can also articulate and speak when he needs to.
What is this?
God
Aaron?
damn it! It's the fucking Saturday Night Live
2016
one.
The Saturday Night
I'm having
Live
the worst
Ghostbusters.
time finding the trailer for the OG.
so-
I'm
funny.
gonna put that on Z tier.
Z tier. That totally is the SNL version of Ghostbusters, man. Oh, that's so
Why
sad.
can't I find the original one?
I like where you wanted to go with this, but no.
You guys watch the newer one, the
I
Paul
did.
Rudd one? I didn't see that.
What year was the original Ghostbusters? Anybody know?
1986,
86, right?
There it is. I think I found it. Okay. Well, this is scary because now I feel like we're going to end up fucking diving down the rabbit hole of comparing all the Ghostbusters movies to each other, which is probably not necessary. I think everybody can agree that the original is the best one.
Oh, absolutely.
Original is the best one.
No question.
And all I'll say is to answer Josh's question. The last one was not terrible. It was fun. It plays a lot of great homages to the original. So if you just want to go
Afterlife?
down Afterlife
With
Paul Rudd,
yeah. And the kid from
Kid Wolf.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, no, it was
Max says so there was more than one.
Yep, there was a lot. There was Ghostbusters 1, 2, and then the SNL one,
And then Afterlife.
and then Afterlife.
And isn't there another one coming with the same Afterlife actors? Or
I
no?
believe they want to continue it. Yes.
Can't let it die.
No, we got to Jurassic Park it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got to make money. So Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
the original.
Yeah.
Classic.
I could go on about it, but I feel like I'll say a lot of things similar to Back to the Future. It was just a pioneer of its time.
Yeah, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, it definitely belongs among them. I don't think it can.
100%.
I would lose sleep if we put it anywhere lower than that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It makes me, and the thing is, like, everybody knows Bill Murray for all of his comedic roles. Obviously, he's one of the best comedic actors that ever lived. What I always end up asking people is if they've seen The Razor's Edge, which also starred Bill Murray. It's a not known film. But people talk about, like, people think that Lost in Translation was like one of Bill Murray's like only serious roles. But that was predated by The Razor's Edge by a long time, by a lot of years. And if people are huge Bill Murray fans but haven't seen that, you should absolutely see The Razor's Edge. He has chops as a serious actor as well.
Yeah.
Like in a big way.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Would you say that this is his funniest film, or like is there a better film that you think he's stronger for Bill Murray as a comedic actor or otherwise?
I don't know. I think this might be his like strongest role. It's just perfect for him. It's like it's cynical, it's funny, it's dry, like it's really good
because of the other cast members.
Yeah, the whole ensemble.
Because he has them to play off of.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Because I mean, Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. I mean, he's able to play off of them, and then I'm forgetting the fourth Ghostbusters name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Gosh, I feel terrible forgetting his name. He's able to play off of them.
Rick Moranis was in this too, right?
Yes, Rick Moranis, Susan Sarandon.
Or not Susan Sarandon. It was
oh my God, not Susan Sarandon.
I know, the fucking name is so similar between the two of them. She was in the original Alien. She was Ripley.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Dude, talk about woof, girl.
Yep.
Damn.
Yep. But no, yeah, I think this was Bill Murray's best performance best comedic performance because of the chemistry and being able to play off of the other actors in this. I think that's why.
That's a good statement, because if I think of something else like Groundhog Day, for example, he just like shone too bright against everybody else, even though that was a great part for him. And same with Caddyshack too. He had his bits, but those were just like segments.
Yeah.
He didn't really get to play off anyone else that much.
And when I think of Scrooge, I can't think of anybody else that was in that film. And there were notable names in that movie, but he just stands out. And that was always what would happen to Bill Murray in his films. He would just constantly stand out.
Was he in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
No.
Who was that guy?
That was Michael Caine and Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. That's what it was. Yeah.
And they remade that movie.
Did they really?
Yeah. They made a newer version. I can't remember who was.
That movie's funny as hell.
That movie is great.
Still holds up.
Yeah, it's great.
Still holds up. I think I saw it like 2 years ago, and for the first time, and I was like, this feels like it was written yesterday. This is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, the writing is quick and sharp.
Timeless.
It's fantastic.
I don't know why that made me think of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but maybe it's just because the tight writing and dialogue.
Mm.
But okay, cool. So Ghostbusters, obviously S tier. Dread. And now we're talking about the new one, not the
Not Judge
Stallone Judge Dredd with him and what's that guy who played the Deuce Bigelow?
Oh, fucking
Rob Schneider?
Rob Schneider was the sidekick in that.
Oh, God.
You don't remember that?
I do now.
Yeah, that was
Jesus
depressing.
Oh, you know what? Q tier. The original
Q
Judge
tier.
Dredd, Q tier, maybe like U
But is that
tier.
just because we didn't have this to compare it with until now?
No, it was a worse Demolition Man, and I love Demolition Man.
It was a bad Demolition Man.
You know what I mean? It was an IP grab of let's make an action film with Sylvester Stallone in mind.
Love that
And
scene.
you know what I mean? It was a cheap comic book IP that they were able to just pay Black Horse Comics probably like $100 for or something, and let's go with that. Yeah, pull up the trailer so we can remember how good
Oh,
this
man.
was with
I've
Lena
seen-
Headey.
I've seen
Yes.
Dread 3 times at
It's
least,
fucking
and
great.
it's one of those for me. I could watch it again and again.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
truer to the source too. It's truer to the comic than the original Stallone was.
Yeah, the
Probably,
Stallone one was like
obviously.
slapstick action, and this is like, no, like this is a fucked up world
Mhm,
with a fucked up sense of justice, Minority Report style, where people are just guilty,
mhm.
Mhm.
and you know, but goddamn, like yes, the like slow-mo drugs.
So cool.
That was such a cool mechanic
Yeah.
and such a great thing that like gave them another like photography, like I don't know, just bring like high frame rate cameras and
It
just
gave
cool
them-
shit.
Right, because remember, and we'll probably get to this when we talk about Matrix, but what Matrix did, where they introduced a new
Bullet
style, they
Yeah.
introduced bullet time, which was a new style of cinematography, a new effect like James Cameron or Steven Spielberg do. But then you saw it in every single movie afterward, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were doing the most ridiculous
Yep.
thing. I'm going to bring up House of the Dead, which was a terrible game adaptation movie where they did bullet time with an axe throw. Yes. So Dread did these slow-mo shots because of the drug, but they incorporated into the story a
Yeah.
reason for them to do that technology
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
Because the ending relies on that to be
Mhm.
so powerful. The way
Yes.
they use that effect at the very end. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it.
'Cause
That's why
you
we're using
should.
the trailers.
Absolutely should.
But man, like it was purposeful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was also visually distinct enough that it didn't feel like bullet time. Like it had that shimmer to it, that sort of shininess that was really interesting. I think having a distinct visual effect is something that really sets a lot of great sci-fi movies apart.
Yes.
Where it's like you kind of need to have something that stands out in order
Yes.
to really sort of be super memorable.
And have it relevant to the story itself, because if not, it's gimmicky.
Yeah.
You know, it's 3D glass. It's the original 80 3Ds glasses, the blue and the red thing, where it's just gimmicky and there's really, it doesn't really add
Just
anything
tacked
to
on
this.
to it.
It's just tacked on.
That's what I think Annihilation really excels at. I know that's not part of this list, but
It should be. I'm sorry.
it's all right.
I don't remember if I've seen that.
Oh, it's so
Maybe
good.
that's why it's
Maybe
not on the list.
yeah. It's possibly neither of you.
This also reminds me of 2 other films. It reminds me of
Thank you, Sam. Yes.
what's the Arnold Schwarzenegger one? Get Your Ass to Mars.
Oh,
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
It has like
Yeah.
a lot of like great sort of it evokes those feelings of like the best things about Total Recall. And then it also reminds me of Game of Death with Bruce Lee. The mechanism of
The Tower.
getting to the top of the
Oh,
tower and
yes.
facing, you know, more
final
like
boss.
scary and deadly opponents as you go higher up and like all of that.
Mhm.
I loved that the movie was contained within this one building and
Mhm,
like
mhm,
and I that aspect of it just was freaking killer to me. And also
really good callback.
remember the actor that we talked about earlier who was in Ex Machina? He's the hacker in this.
The ginger guy?
Yes,
Dormo.
who works for the
Yeah.
gang and is like
Yeah,
locking
yeah,
everything
yeah.
down, and like he's also
right.
like there's like shit wrong with him and stuff. Like he was a cool kind of like weird character in this.
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson.
Yes.
Is that
That's,
him?
yeah,
That's his
yeah.
name. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then I mean, how about the fucking gun that just like changes modes with like voice recognition?
It's
Yep.
Incendiary, and then it's like
Coolest
"That's
shit
so
ever."
fucking Cool.
Yeah,
And it gave for me, it gave that cyberpunk vibe.
James, my man,
James says we stand for annihilation.
so
Yep.
good.
Brooklyn says Dread was best remake I've seen. Absolutely.
Yep.
Gives Mad Max vibes.
Yeah, that was it has that grittiness. It does. It really does have that
The
dirty grittiness.
adrenaline just doesn't stop once it gets going.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Where are we tossing it?
Oh man.
That's tough. I would say A.
I could agree with that. I don't think that it's historically significant in the way that Ghostbusters Jurassic Park, like
Yeah.
it just kind of leads the genre.
Yep.
But I wouldn't rewatch Shape of Water, as amazing as it is. I will
Yeah.
I would rewatch Dread twice a year and I would not stop loving it.
Yeah, you'd reach for it more often for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That doesn't knock down Shape of Water.
Does not.
No.
But it just allows Dread to live next to it.
Because for me, I wouldn't watch Inception multiple times a
Yeah.
year.
Right. Yeah.
But it's tonally different, and that's okay, and still makes both films incredible.
Yeah.
But Dread has that rewatchability.
Mhm.
And
really does.
Yeah.
And if we talked about rewatchability, I think this tier list would look very, very different.
Absolutely. If we ranked it based on that alone, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And I tend to, when people ask me what my favorites films are, I tend to rank based on rewatchability. I
Yeah.
feel like for me, that's a more important factor than a lot of other things.
Mhm.
But here we're just talking about, the genres.
And to me, that's why Back to the Future and Jurassic Park are S tier.
Yes.
You know,
Because they're rewatchable.
I could watch those every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably do watch them every
Yeah.
year for one reason or another.
But then I would say I wouldn't necessarily rewatch the original Ghostbusters or Ex Machina.
Well, I agree with that too. It's been a couple years since Ghostbusters, and same for Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun next time, I think, to maybe do one where we rank based on rewatchability rather than like
Yeah.
historical significance.
That'd be fun.
All right, so let's move on to one that I think maybe we're gonna have some differing opinions. Starship Troopers.
Starship
Yeah, let's
Troopers.
go to Starship Troopers. I just want to point out, Brooklyn Rob mentions, I feel like they were also able to pull off Dread because they didn't compete with the original.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. I think to that degree, if you're going to reboot something, don't try to compete with the previous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, it ignored,
Yeah. Just leave it.
completely ignored
Just leave it behind.
in the
Don't
right
mention,
and
don't talk.
to
Don't
its
think,
benefit.
Yep.
All right, Starship Troopers,
SS tier.
double S tier.
Yeah, I should say a double S tier.
Oh,
Yes. Moving on.
From the
Starship
director
Troopers.
of
Total Recall.
Total Recall,
Recall.
and RoboCop.
Fun tier. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
James.
Fun tier.
Yep.
It is an interesting one. 'cause
Neil Patrick Harris, I forgot. He
Oh,
was like
yeah.
the
Yep.
intel
he
guy.
was the Nazi guy. Yeah. Well, I guess they're all kind of Nazi. But
Yeah, he was yep. And then I don't remember his name, but he's always great as just
Mhm.
just the gritty
Angry
the drill
man,
sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always so good at that role and so much fun. Yeah, I'm getting distracted by
I
remembering
know,
the
just
movie,
watching this trailer. I'm
watching
like,
the
"Shit,
trailer
I want to
and
watch it again.
I know.
remembering things. I
Yeah.
mean, the movie has incredible lines. Over the last couple years, other movies have come out. I know when we watched Edge of Tomorrow, we referenced this movie, I think, like 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
Mhm.
during the film. And
You apes want to live forever.
there's so many great lines. There's so much fun in this film. And it is campy. It
Oh,
is
yeah.
mega campy. And
But it also gets devastating when you lose like characters that they
Mhm.
make you just fall in love with.
that was another thing it did. It hit you in places you didn't expect from this kind of like action film where the loss of characters actually hits hard.
Yeah. And of course, there's also the angle of like it being like a satirical, almost parody of like militarism and stuff like that. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
very
Would you like to know more?
yeah. It takes the fascist element and it's just constantly like shoving it in your face.
Yeah,
about,
the
like,
propaganda
yeah, the
aspect.
propaganda of
And then it like
the toxic
imperialism.
masculinity of
it
like,
talks about
Marine Corps
all
and
of
stuff.
that
yeah.
and then shows you that doesn't mean shit. You're gonna die a gritty, horrible death by bug acid.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. Do you guys know that this movie has like 3 sequels to it?
Yes, I do know that.
They
I
kept
think
going.
I tried to
Mhm.
watch one of them, and
They
I
are
was just like,
unwatchable.
nah, dude.
They are unwatchable. But this film, guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely freaking adore this, and the CGI
Still really
was
good.
really good
For-
for
yeah.
an early film.
Yeah, it really was.
It makes it. It's kind of. I
I
don't
wonder
know
how
if
they
it
did
makes
that.
it sad that
Yeah.
newer films are the CGI is not as good.
Yeah.
Or if it just highlights how good this one was for.
Well,
when
that's
it
why I
was
get
made.
upset at modern films when
Right.
they don't hit the CGI, and it's like, come on, you got Disney money or you got this money. Like, what are you doing? Starship
Mhm.
Troopers did this better.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. Yeah, I wonder what it is that makes this stand out, because it's one thing to look at practical effects and be like, of course that holds up. It's real materials and it's real costumes and stuff, but that kind of CGI where it's all computer generated, it's a giant bug creature. Like
Yeah.
they didn't have any puppet. Well, maybe they had references
They
or
had
something.
some
practical.
practical effects.
Yeah.
But it was like stuff like, oh, let's examine this like detached claw of a dead
A
one or
limb
something.
or
like-
whatnot, and then
Right.
like a close up of the intelligence bug that gets captured that Neil Patrick
It's
Harris,
afraid. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
gonna talk about the mouth on that. Yeah, James says true that CGI is Jurassic Park level with bugs. Yeah, I think so. In terms of like how solid the practical effects in Jurassic Park were,
Hmm.
yeah,
the
this hit it with the
CGI of
CGI.
this one were pretty freaking.
It's
solid.
surprisingly really good for a movie that you wouldn't think would have a giant budget. I
Right.
don't know what the budget is for this, but it doesn't seem like it'd be that
you know
huge.
what? That's such a cool question.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's a great question. What was the budget and what was the box office
Right.
opening of this movie?
Budget was 100 million,
Okay.
Okay,
So
that
not
was-
small.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
1997.
Wow, that was actually a lot for 97. 100 million?
Yeah,
What was the box office?
see if I could find it here.
I bet you they lost money.
54 million.
Yeah.
54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
That is a big swing for a movie like this.
But I'll tell you
honestly.
what, the sci-fi genre probably has more examples of that than any other genre in film. I think sci-fi movies don't get the respect they deserve in the box office, and they become cult classics later.
Yes.
Yeah, sci-fi and fantasy movies as well. Have
Yes.
always have had a track record of not pulling in audiences.
Yeah, because it's a niche audience you're hitting.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of these movies get so diluted, like I, Robot or Battle Angel Alita, because you've got to cram qualities that, you know, test screenings
Exactly.
like just to make box office numbers. You know, oh, we can't get a no name, even though Guillermo del Toro takes the risk and hires someone not a lot of people know for Shape of Water or his other films. No. Who's popping right now? Will Smith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, because
Who
they got to
sells
make
tickets?
up for the numbers, but then you don't make a great film.
One thing I forgot I wanted to argue was whether or not Shape of Water is really a sci-fi film versus a fantasy film or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it just goes back to like how broad of a genre it is. Like because it's unlike any other movie on that list. It's a romance movie. It's a movie
Yeah.
about two people who like fall in love, and there's no other movie that's like that.
And maybe I only say that because the juxtaposition between
Right.
that and Starship Troopers
and
is
Judge
so
Dredd.
vastly
Yeah,
different.
So
yeah.
vast. But to me, I think it is a story similar to Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
a misunderstood
Ah,
creature.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's where I always go back to science fiction. What is science fiction? Frankenstein.
Frankenstein is science
Mm.
fiction.
It is the science fiction. To me, the core of it was, obviously it's branched out and become different. Science fiction is the study of the human condition through fantastical scientific aspects of it.
Yeah.
Mm. because we're looking at otherness.
Right.
Seeing the otherness highlights ourness.
Yes.
Yes.
in a way.
That's the thesis of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh yeah.
and it's present in every major sci-fi
Yeah.
project. Is
The good
that
ones, at
theme?
least.
Yeah, the good ones. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so that's why Shape of Water to me is a sci-fi film, because when I was adding it to my list, I was arguing with myself if this was sci-fi enough.
Mhm.
Wait, if Frankenstein is sci-fi, does that mean Young Frankenstein is sci-fi?
Absolutely. Why isn't this on here?
Fire bad, water good. Yeah.
That's the essence of science
But I
fiction.
blew hair.
Hmm.
All right, Starship Troopers. Where does it go?
I'm putting it on.
Is it the Dread of '97?
Mm,
It's gonna be.
Is it the iRobot of modern day?
it's smarter than iRobot.
I'm gonna say it's B or C.
Yeah, I'd say B. I'd say B is a good.
I'll put it in B, but I'm going to
Yeah.
recognize in a footnote that it's mostly due to nostalgia that I put it in B rather than C.
Fair enough. Fair
Mhm.
enough. It would feel at home in C as well.
Cool. I
Alright.
Am Legend. Another Will Smith.
That's an interesting.
Yes. And I feel like Carlos maybe has some strong feelings about this movie for various reasons.
Yeah. For those of you paying attention at home, I've only seen this movie once, and this movie is why I will pause a movie immediately and look up one of my favorite websites called doesthedogdie.com. That scene in the movie with the dog, and if you haven't seen it, heads up, something terrible happens, broke me. Snot bubble crying into someone's arms. It was terrible, it was awful, and it was incredibly well done. This movie was terrifying. This movie was it left a big impact, because half the movie, if I'm remembering correctly, is just him and the dog.
Yeah.
And to one of the reasons that I loved WALL-E by Pixar was because the first half of the film is without dialogue. It's just one person existing and what they're doing with the time. Holy crap. Did I Am Legend walk so WALL-E could run? Anyways, what do you guys think?
Wait, hold on. Just I did not realize that this was getting compared to Wally.
Yeah,
But
Why isn't WALL-E on this list?
I could
What have I
see it.
done?
that's true.
I do love that he's driving golf balls off the wing of a fighter jet. It
Yeah.
reminds me of this episode of Stargate SG-1 where they get bored because they're in a Groundhog Day loop, and they just like get fucking bored and they start doing dumb shit. And they open the Stargate and just start chipping golf balls into it, not even knowing where they're going.
That's awesome.
Because the day's gonna reset. But anyways, to me, the thing that I always think of first when I think of this movie, and I mentioned it to you the other day, is when he's walking through that building during the daytime and all the vampires are just standing there,
Yeah.
like
They're all huddled and shit.
huffing and breathing and but not moving or whatever, like
Because they're like dormant,
creepy, as
ready to
hell.
pop off at any second.
God,
Up.
so creepy.
Yeah.
And here's a question, dude. Are they zombies or vampires? Like, what are they to you?
Vampires.
I think they're more vampires than zombies because they're intelligent too. That's the thing that I like about this movie.
Yep.
that,
And they
like,
run at full speed, right?
They run at full speed.
They're
They're
affected by daylight.
and they have
Ah.
emotional relationships with each other too.
Yes.
Which is really interesting. They're people. They're just fucked up. I think the scene that always jumps out to me is where he's driving around and he sees that mannequin that he talks to standing out there, Frank.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he looks at Frank and for a moment he thinks that Frank moves, and he's so paranoid and so alone that he goes up to him. He's like, "Are you real?" Like he has this moment
Holy
of doubt
shit.
where he's essentially lost his mind and he's shouting at this mannequin, and that ends up being a trap set up by the fucking vampires. Like that is amazing. I love that aspect to the movie, and I also like the fact that he's a scientist too. Like he's trying to figure out.
Yeah.
That's the reason why he stayed behind, is because he is trying to figure out the cause and
Yep.
cure of the virus and everything.
I think as far as Will Smith movies went,
Yeah.
at the time,
Mhm.
he was just doing blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. This was the first time that I felt we got to see Will Smith's acting chops since The Fresh Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think this was a more dynamic role for him than people had been giving him at the time.
Yeah.
Yep, he finally got to act because, to Josh's point, yes, the scenes where he's in the stores, where he is by himself, he's playing that man that has been 10 years, 5 years, however long,
Mhm.
by himself. Someone would go mad.
Absolutely.
Wasn't this a remake of the Omega Man starring Charlton Heston?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it is. I'm trying to remember. I think it is. I think it's, and maybe that was even the working title of this one while they were shooting or something. But I think it's a remake of this old shitty Charlton Heston movie that was very Thunderdome. But oh yeah, Shannon knows the episode I'm talking about from Stargate. Yes. I think I only know one other person that remembers that episode.
And it's Shannon.
Yeah.
You,
Vamp bees.
you
Vamp
nerds.
Vampire zombies.
Vampies.
Frank, what are you doing out here? Yeah.
Yep.
That scene was so heavy, man. I mean, second, of course, to the dog dying scene.
But it was incredibly.
Yeah, there's a lot of super heavy moments in the movie. I think they really blessed Will Smith with this. I think he recognized that this was an opportunity
Yeah.
to show his acting chops, and he fucking crushed it.
Yeah, he did.
Absolutely does. There's also another incredible scene in this film. What was it with the unbreakable glass?
Yeah.
Where like the head vampire like smashes it, or he tries to get through, and I mean, I think it's Will
In the
Smith on the other
laboratory?
side. Yeah. And it's just this really intense moment, but the vampire realizes that he can't get through, and he like calms down, and you see these like creatures that have been so aggressive and scary and monstrous suddenly humanize and think.
Mm,
And it was unnerving
mm.
how he calms down. You see it in the CG of how he rationalizes and walks away.
Mhm.
It was terrifying.
Yeah, realizing the futility of it in a way that zombies are not capable of doing.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
That's super cool. Crystal, what's up? Says, sorry a little late to this, but it almost always ruins the movie for me if a dog or pet dies. I think the only movie I didn't mind it as much was John Wick because he gets revenge.
John Wick was such a fucking kick to the nuts, man.
I
When that
skipped
dog
that
died,
scene.
You skip it?
I skipped it. I saw where it was going, and I
Yeah.
was like, skip.
so sad.
You know,
The
there is a
blood
Martin
and
McDonough play called The Lieutenant of Inishmore,
Hmm.
which starts in exactly the way that John Wick does. And I think maybe somebody based John Wick's script off of Lieutenant of Inishmore. It's possible because it preceded it. But just replace a dog with a cat.
Okay.
And replace it being set in America with being set in Ireland.
Hmm.
But it's basically, the guy gets revenge for somebody killing his cat and just goes on a shooting spree, tracking down everybody that's connected in any possible way
Hmm.
and just freaking wiping them off the face of the earth. It's really fantastic. Although what's funny, I might as well spoil Lieutenant of Inishmore because it's never going to be a movie. I think people are never going to invest in it. It was actually the wrong cat. It was another cat that looked like his cat.
Oh my god.
And
that's
so he
funny.
kills like all these gangsters and dies himself.
Comes.
And
For
then
no reason.
and then his like neighbor, whoever I forget the character is, comes over into his house later, discovers all these bodies, and the cat
Oh Jesus.
is fine. It was great.
I thought you were
It's
gonna say after he does this whole spree, he comes back home and the cat's sitting waiting for him to feed him.
Well, I mean that's basically it. The cat, no, the main
But the
character
neighbor
dies.
finds.
The main character dies. But
Yeah.
and here's the thing. My friend Ken, who you know,
Again.
is an actor.
Hmm.
He helped me get into theater when I was doing acting in Miami. Now lives in LA. He's fantastic. If you guys saw the NBA 2K a commercial with Shaq at the grocery store where he ends up like slam dunking a watermelon over this guy. The guy
Ken?
is Ken, my friend
That's
Ken.
Ken.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, he actually was recently in the not Jeffrey Dahmer. What was the thing that came out on Netflix recently about the serial killer that has the guy from X-Men and American Horror
it was
Story?
the
It was
Dahmer
Dahmer.
story.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it was him. He's in that as well.
Wow.
He has
He
a few.
is.
He has a few parts in that.
Cool.
But
I'll watch that just for Ken's scene.
yeah, he was in the Gable Stage and Coral Gables production of Lieutenant Ventimore, and the cat. They actually got a shelter cat and trained it to walk on stage in a theater, in a playhouse.
Oh.
Walk on stage at the end of the
Final
play
act. Yeah.
as the cat coming home. And it walks out on stage and there's a bowl of food there and it's eating whatever. It's a real cat. And it was a shocker. The reviewer, one of the Miami Herald reviewer, mentioned the cat as being like the strongest actor in the entire show. And that's not to say that the other actors weren't great, because they were, but it was like, what other opportunities does a theater critic have to mention a cat in a
Cast
review?
a cat. Yeah.
But Ken fell in love with the cat and kept it
Wow. No way.
What?
after the production ended. And it actually then was cast in another play later that year.
Damn.
I
Got a
can't
good
remember.
agent, huh?
This
But yeah.
cat has a longer IMDb than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely had better reviews than I had when I was a theater actor in Miami. But
Well,
anyways, yeah, Crystal says, oh my God, I want to watch that. Fantastic. Yeah, you'll have to see if there's a playhouse near you that ever does it. And don't miss it if that's the case. But anyways, I Am Legend.
Where are we putting it, guys?
I Am Legend. I feel like B is a good spot.
I think
It's tough.
to me, okay, so I want to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like a B movie, but it's forgettable. I feel
Yeah.
like culturally,
Yeah.
I see way more references to Signs, obviously Rogue One, and Starship Troopers.
Very true.
It's
true.
very forgettable. It's really good. It has amazing
good.
aspects. Will Smith's best acting career up to that point, but forgettable.
But the thing is, if I judge it in terms of like an actor's piece, I would say that I Am Legend is for Will Smith what Matthew McConaughey, and Interstellar was for Matthew McConaughey.
But I still say that is still Matthew McConaughey's best piece, and Will Smith has had
He's
plenty.
Well, what's the
he's done
best-
better
drama
work
pieces
since
What's,
then.
what's the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
thing that Will Smith has done?
8 Pounds came after this, which was more incredible.
I think this was also pre-Pursuit of Happiness too.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. That's the next one I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
and
It might
didn't
be
he
the
win an
same year,
award for
actually.
playing the dad of the Williams sisters in the
yes.
tennis thing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
King. Oh gosh, I can't
King
remember.
James.
That was
Oh,
the
no,
one
no,
where
no,
he
King
fucking
James, no.
he Jotaro'd Chris Rock at the.
Yep. Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Like,
Okay, so he has had better parts.
yeah, he has.
Um,
He has.
All right,
This
so
was
then what
just
are we B
at that
tiering
time.
it with, like Starship Troopers and Rogue One and Signs,
We could put
or
it.
are we
in-
C tiering it with Alita?
I think it fits next to Alita.
I think it fits next to Alita.
All right, I'll go with you guys on that. I don't
Yeah.
have too strong of a opinion.
Because Alita does amazing things, and so does I Am Legend, but I don't think it earns the spot in the B's.
Pursuit of Happiness gutted me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually, you guys are gonna hate me. I have not seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Wasn't that with his real son?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jaden
Jaden.
Smith's first
Jaden?
role.
Good old
Yeah.
Jaden. Why isn't After Earth on here?
Was he a chess kid, a chess player in that movie, or was that a different movie? That was him in the remake of the Karate Kid or whatever.
I mean,
that's
yeah,
the
that
same
was
kid.
Jaden Smith in
Yeah.
the remake of the Karate Kid, which should have been the Kung Fu Kid. Again, Hollywood
Kung
just
Fu Kids, was that the one with the 3 kids in the masks?
no, it's Kung Fu Ninjas. Or no, 3 ninjas.
Three
Excuse me.
ninjas,
3 ninjas.
3 little
Rocky,
ninjas.
Colt, and Tum Tum.
Fucking hell. Tum Tum.
Hell
Jesus
yeah, fight me
Christ.
on this. I remember that movie. They were amazing. There was 2 sequels after that. Third one was not great. Second one had the original cast, except Rocky was recasted because he got too older.
Jesus.
Anyways.
Are we moving on to E.T.?
We're moving
Sure.
on to E E.T.
Is that just going straight up to S? We just plopping that up on S?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not for
Well,
me.
I was just wondering. I'm not saying that it's an S movie, but it is a Spielberg classic, and it's one of
Sure.
those things that people always sort of jump to. But
Well, let's not hold the video game against it.
yeah, very true. At least there haven't been any sequels made. T. That we can.
That's actually really surprising.
Yeah, and thank God. Probably wouldn't have been.
Jaws had how many sequels?
Not too
Jurassic
late.
Park has had
5 of
how many
them?
sequels?
It's not too late. Who would direct the sequel of E.T. if there was one? Michael
J.J.
Bay.
Abrams.
Yeah,
I
probably
could
would
see
be
Abrams.
Abrams.
He is Steven Spielberg's like progeny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much.
You know, he was like, he
Mhm.
he met Spielberg because Spielberg hired him to edit home video footage
Really?
that Spielberg shot of like his family,
Yep.
and he had like so much footage that had never been like edited, and
Wow.
he hired him to edit it.
And like
Dude, that's
J.J.
crazy.
Abrams grew up like most of us, loving Spielberg's work, dreaming to be a director, and like Spielberg is his role model.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about landing a dream job and then getting your dream job and then
Yeah.
being
Wasn't
quite the career.
Drew Barrymore
I think
yeah.
she was
Drew
in E.T.
Barrymore was in E.T.
is in
Yeah.
ET?
Yeah.
This movie made me eat so many Reese's Pieces when I was a kid.
Mhm. Man, it's been a long time since
He's still creepy.
he's horrific. And
But I will give it credit.
He's
I
the
mean,
Grogu of his time.
he was.
Grogu's so
Grogu
much
of his
cuter.
day.
Oh, of course, but
But what can we say that most people won't already say that we all won't just agree? I mean, it's a timeless classic,
Sure.
original for its time.
it's a sci-fi Goonies,
Yep.
By Goonies, my
Goonies.
man.
right?
It's the classic 80s little kid adventure.
What Stranger Things?
Stranger Things aspires to be, or
was
at least
inspired by,
and
and then took it into darker, more Stephen King's It
Sure.
realms.
Yeah.
But it pays that homage
Mhm.
to E.T.
Look at little Drew Barrymore.
I mean, probably at A tier as far as like cultural influence goes. It's
Like
it's
historical
up there.
significance in the
It,
genre.
I will
Way
say
up
it
there.
earns itself an A
Absolutely.
because of what its legacy. Its
Yeah.
legacy puts it in A.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
would throw that in D.
Yeah, I understand why. You want
Damn.
to tell our studio audience?
Yeah, I'm
about
gonna
that?
tell our studio
Fair
audience.
enough.
Some of them may actually already know this. I was terrified of the ET creature puppet. And I recognize how well it was. Kudos to Spielberg and the team. It terrified me, seriously terrified me until I was at least 17 years old. I did not get on the ET ride at Universal Studios Orlando till I was in my early 20s.
I will say that ride was not as great as like King Kong or Jaws. So,
Weren't missing
in my opinion,
it.
Yeah, I agree.
it's sad that those rides are gone. I wish
Are
theme
they
parks
really?
would just get
ET
bigger
is
and
still
bigger
there.
to keep their rides. ET's still there?
ET is still there.
What the fuck?
It's gonna
Why?
outlive us all.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I went on the ET Universal ride before I ever saw the movie, says Crystal. Yeah.
I remember watching.
Still gives me nightmares.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Shannon.
I don't understand that.
Because okay,
He's
so there
creepy and weird.
it's
and
not
gross to
just
look at.
it's not just that he's creepy and weird, but the other thing that also freaked me out about the film is that when the government arrives
Mm.
to like capture ET, the fact that they're all in the white
There's,
like
like,
hazmat suits,
Hazmat CIA
the
spooks.
plastic tubes that they're putting out. For me as a child watching that was like alien. You know, it's what scares you about extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Right.
And
right,
it's the unknown. It's
They're
not
telling
seeing
you
their
they're-
faces.
They're trying to make you feel like they're also like dangerous and scary.
Yeah, it's
Because, like,
terrifying. You know,
dangerous and scary people
it's a police raid in the middle of the night, and all you
Interesting.
see is flashes of light. You don't see faces. You're being pushed around. Your adrenaline's going. You're confused and disoriented.
Now you're a kid thinking, when are they gonna swap my house?
You know, that was the other
Interesting.
thing that like freaked me out.
But James says, isn't the ET ride Simpsons now?
No, that was the Back to
Simpsons
the Future
was
ride.
Back to the Future, yeah.
Yes.
ET looks like your average Twitch streamer. Tommy, bro, always in here. Harry Potter World trumps all at Universal. I think I agree that the Diagon Alley is the best thing Universal Park has ever done.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like Batu for Disney.
Absolutely. Batu and Disney, they took notes from Diagon Alley and they executed very well.
But I don't know, man. I feel like Diagon Alley, in terms of like execution and immersion,
Better.
better than Batu.
Yeah.
I think. Have you been to either of them?
No, no. I haven't.
Oh shit.
What's
bro.
what's
Yeah.
Batu? Is that the Star Wars one?
That's the Star Wars
Oh, okay,
area.
got it.
Yeah. Batu Barata Nikto. Okay. So yeah, sweet. All right. E.T., you know, oh man, you guys were saying what? What did you say, Josh?
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, to be totally honest. So it's like, if we're going with subjective ratings, I don't really care. Like, I don't know, maybe in B or something, but like, as far as it standing on its own and it being a cultural touchstone, it should be up in A at the very least.
And that's similarly to how I feel. E.T., my fear aside, didn't do anything for me when I watched it, and terrified me as a child. I don't really care much for the movie. I know it's iconic to Spielberg's career, the culture and movie and cinema. I would throw it in D. It's not a terrible film, but it does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I would
But
put
culturally,
Sure.
it earns itself up.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the call? You know.
I would have slapped it in D if not for the cultural significance of it. But I think, man, that movie just fucking sold toys. Like,
Sure.
I think it was more
Weird,
significant.
creepy,
Not in my house.
In how to
scrotum.
in how to
toys.
market fucking toys than, you know, take Spielberg and compare it with other Spielberg films like Jaws, like The Goonies, like other things. I think just he did so much more later.
He did so
That's
much
true.
more later.
That's true.
I also
So
do
I
want to
wanna
say
put
something.
it in like C
Put it in
at
C.
best.
I also want to point out that Kathleen Kennedy, if anybody here knows who she is currently the head of Lucasfilm and has been for many years. Kathleen Kennedy started as Spielberg's personal assistant.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
When they made E.T., she had worked her way up to become an executive producer with Spielberg on this film. But she had been with Spielberg throughout most of his early career, started off as a personal assistant, her and her husband started writing the films with Spielberg. By the time E.T. came around, became executive producer, and now Kathleen Kennedy runs Lucasfilm.
Wow. So what you're saying is, if you can get on a Spielberg set, just like taping cables or putting napkins out on the
Anything is
craft
possible.
services
Yeah,
table.
Yeah, just go back 30, 50 years
Yeah.
and do that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
All right,
Sam's-
dude. This
Sam's
one
not
is
wrong.
gonna be fun to talk about.
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black.
It has been so long since I've seen this.
Me
and
too.
it bums me out because I remember really liking it, but I don't remember like a lot of the set pieces.
To
and stuff.
me, Pitch Black is kind of like I Am Legend or Starship Troopers. That was like, I watched this maybe once or twice or a little more when it came out. It was amazing. It left an impression on me, and then I forgot about the film until someone else brings it up.
Until Chronicles of Riddick came out.
Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick is the one that I'm more familiar with, but I remember Pitch Black being really cool.
See, I would call it closer to Alien or Predator.
Yeah.
Yes, because it is that kind of a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
It can see you, you can't see it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna pick you off one by one.
Except if you have cool goggles.
Except if you have mechanical eyeballs or whatever the fuck he had
I don't remember.
that allowed him to see in the dark.
heat
Well,
vision.
was it a genetic mutation?
It
or
was it was something genetic, whether it was a science experiment or he had them implanted. It wasn't cybernetics, but it allowed him to see in the dark.
Oh, and he was like a prisoner, right? He was like
He was a criminal.
He was a prison transport. What
Yeah.
was the ship? I don't remember.
Riddick was a criminal, and I think it was just a transport vessel, and he was just like kind of hidden in the back. Oh yeah, Keith
Wait,
David.
is that your boy?
Yeah, I'm telling you, Keith David has been in my life longer than I realize.
See, that is the thing that I always remember. This like mobile of the solar system that they're in. And that's when they discover that they are fucked. Because as they rotate it to like present year, they see that it is going to be like everything is going to be eclipsed and that it's going to last way longer than they can possibly survive.
That's such a cool concept. That's what I loved about Chronicles of Riddick was like the planetary extremes and stuff like that. Like that one planet where the surface temperature was like insanely hot that it just like flash fried anyone who was caught out in the sun. Like it takes that level of realism to a really interesting level, like what it's like to exist on hostile planets where it's just dark because there's a planet blocking the sun. Like
Right.
I think that's really cool.
And I to that more, like, we see a lot of these sci-fi films that just happen to be on other planets, or we visit different systems, and obviously they're always inhabitable because we gotta run a film. No, this movie allows the planet, and Riddick as well, it makes the environment be part of the character. It is a character. It is part of the story. It is integral to the story.
The planet is the bad guy as much as the shit.
It's an antagonist. Yeah.
Yes. What are the 3 storylines? Man versus man, man versus self, man versus nature.
Yep.
And man versus God.
And man versus God. 4. So yeah, it's one of the 4 original stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies where, especially in sci-fi, where it's like, we're going to this alien planet and it's just Earth, but the leaves are red or whatever. It's like, okay, well, that's
so
not
what?
super interesting. Yeah.
Right.
But this is like, they're on a desert planet or something, and it's just
it's more
really
like
cool.
a moon. It's more like this. And to that, I do like that it also emphasizes that, this could be a moon or whatnot, but moons can still carry life.
Yeah. Right.
It's just
It's
the
just hostile.
condition. Just the conditions just have to serve enough purpose to create life, and it.
I think it's pretty obvious though. As soon as the movie starts and you meet Riddick, that he's the only one that's gonna survive. Like you just know it immediately. You're like, okay, this movie is just watching everybody but him die.
Yep.
And it does that thing that like was great from like 80s and 90s action flicks where it's just like Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger in, you know they're gonna survive.
Yeah.
You know, it does the Predator thing.
He's also like an anti-hero, which I really enjoy.
Yes.
That is a cool character.
Yeah, that was at the time that this came out.
Yes.
That was not really a thing very much in movies.
Yeah.
No,
not
and
really.
at the time that this came out, that was my favorite thing about stories.
Right.
The Spawn comics in the 90s were my favorite because Spawn was not a hero and he wasn't a villain. And like this was a very similar concept of a character of just like, I do some really bad stuff. I'm no hero, not really a villain.
Yeah.
I'm just doing my thing.
Kind of a guy who can kill things very well.
Yeah.
And has prescription goggles.
Prescription goggles.
I just rewatched the Spawn movie recently.
Should have called me over. I would have loved it.
Yo, the effects are so fucking cringe, man.
So
And
cringe.
when you were a kid, you were like, whoa, and now you're just like, Jesus. John Leguizamo was
John Leguizamo.
I love
that was
dude.
killer for him.
Does incredible as the Violator clown. He just, God, incredible.
Yeah, I saw in the trailer. It won't come up for a little bit, but the part where the guy has the lighter and like blows the like flame to be able to see where he is in the dark.
Yes.
And all the aliens are just standing around him in a circle, kumbayaing until it can eat him.
And they're swaying too.
Yeah, it's so great. They kind of remind me of the vampires in I Am Legend. In that way.
Yep.
But yeah. Okay, cool. Pitch Black.
I'd be comfortable like in deep, honestly. Like it's cool, but it's I barely remember it. You know what I mean? Like I think Chronicles of Riddick is a better movie than Pitch, and it's more memorable.
I'll have to watch
boot.
it. I never got to see it. I'll have to watch it.
It's really interesting, very strange, but in a good way.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can dig
I'm
that.
gonna put it next to Starship Troopers.
Sure.
And I kind of want to put it in C tier.
Split the difference.
Yeah, let's do it. So what was that? C tier?
Yeah.
C
Okay,
tier.
let's do it. Independence Day.
Roland Emmerich, man.
Man, we're gonna talk about this one for an hour.
Yeah, we are.
Oh boy.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth. Wow, Will Smith made it on this list like 3 times.
Yeah.
Right?
He's
I
an
Am Legend
accomplished
and-
sci-fi actor.
And robots.
And robots. Yeah. Okay. Independence Day.
Day.
Jeff Goldblum has also made it on this list twice.
A couple times. Yep.
Yep.
God, We might actually be able to just rocket right past this one. I feel like it's S or A, like easily.
Yeah. Man, blowing up the White House. And
Oof.
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it. You
The
really do.
Special effects.
The special effects, the set pieces, the destruction, and
Yeah.
everything else.
And it had Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek
Yup.
in it, which was kind of fun.
Spiner.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is very Armageddon
Very campy.
in that it is camp as fuck.
But it did it better.
Yeah.
But it, yeah,
It's self-aware enough to have fun with it.
and it was reasonable within its own universe, whereas Armageddon was just random fucking ADHD
For the sake of action.
shit. And like, yeah. And Independence Day stood on its legs with actors that weren't necessarily like A-listers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it still crushed.
Because this was, I think, Will Smith's first summer blockbuster that like really took it out. But like Vivica A. Fox, Bill Pullman,
Uncle Eddie from the National Lampoon's.
Uncle Eddie from National Lampoon.
He
Like
kind of did
it was like a lot of B actors around here, minus Jeff Goldblum, who was also out there. But I don't know. I think it made Jeff.
and what's
Goldblum,
his name from Spaceballs?
Bill Pullman.
Yeah, Bill Pullman.
Yeah. I remember watching Spaceballs and going, why does he look so familiar? And then it hit me because he's also the dad in Casper, opposite Christina
That's
Ricci.
right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's
Oh
Bill
my
Pullman.
god.
I love him.
forgot about that.
Charismatic man. I miss him
Yeah.
in movies.
He was a leading man for a good stretch
Mhm.
there.
How about the virus that they just fly into the ship and upload like piece of cakey?
Yeah.
But it's still tense. It was still like, oh my god, when they
Mhm.
fly in there and they're just like, okay, don't move,
Yeah.
don't breathe,
Breathe.
like,
And just like fighter jets versus alien spaceships. That's such a great match.
or
And the dog
crop
fights and
duster
everything.
biplanes
Yeah.
versus alien spaceships.
Yes.
because that's what that fucking farmer ends up doing at the end. Right?
It was great. Dog fights and all the action you could want in a movie like this.
And for the time, there was campiness, but like everything from when they first received the signal to how they're figuring out that they're using their satellites against them. There was really believable things happening in this movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, if we sit here and analyze it, we could break down how a lot of those things weren't correct or how things were bad. But like, think about someone in their teenage years watching this movie now and not knowing how technology was back then.
Mm.
It was really good for the era. The TV sets, all the effects to show things getting messed up.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, like blowing up the White House, the practical effects to this film
Mhm.
were fantastic.
You know, what's interesting too is that, you know, we just saw the Twin Towers
Yeah.
because this was filmed pre-2001.
Yeah.
But
96, 97.
what's interesting is that, you know, this is also about a natural disaster
Mhm.
that united the country,
Sure. Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
And then unites the world in the end when they sang the signal out to the other countries about how to defeat the aliens.
Yeah, it just reminds everybody that the U.S. is better than everyone.
America! Yeah.
USA.
You got to respect Will Smith dragging an alien on a parachute across the desert.
Yeah. That's so
Pretty
great.
And what the hell is that smell?
It's
I was supposed to be
funny.
at a barbecue.
It's just, this is rewatchable.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It is so rewatchable.
And I love when the people who are like, "Yay, aliens!" are just getting nuked on top of their rooftop party
like
or
those
whatever.
cultists.
Like,
yeah.
Yep.
all right.
That's so
This
fucking cool.
does what Jurassic Park and Ghostbusters did. It has a lot of rewatchability. I definitely put it up in the A list.
Definitely A or S. I would probably lean towards A.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Roland Emmerich's career, man. After this, there's like, well, he did The Day After Tomorrow and some of those other movies, but then he did like Independence Day 2.
Hmm.
That sucked. I didn't like that one at all. But yeah, Independence Day, the original, is great.
That was with Liam Hemsworth, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
Lord.
Yeah.
I
Not
so
super-
want it to live next to Ghostbusters and Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, but it's almost there.
It's almost,
almost there.
Not
Yep.
quite.
Yeah.
It's
But-
almost there.
All right. The Matrix.
The Matrix.
Man, these are some hitters.
Yeah. Matrix, the coolest fucking movie. Leather trench coats and sunglasses.
And guns.
And guns.
Lots of guns.
So
And Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
And Kung Fu.
Whoa.
Gun food.
Gung Fu.
Why isn't Equilibrium
Bongo.
up here?
Fondue. What?
Have you guys seen Equilibrium?
Equilibrium?
Okay,
Yes.
that's why it's not up here.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Josh hasn't seen it.
Thanks, Josh.
The Fool.
That's where Gung Fu.
Yeah.
Ah,
I've
such a
seen
good film.
clips.
It's
I have been exposed to the gun fu.
so good.
Yeah, Matrix is fucking awesome. Peak 90s, well, 99, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like that. It was
Late
that.
90s?
It was what.
Right on the edge.
It was the leading car
Yes.
in what was to become the early 2000s cinema.
Yes. Yeah.
The music, the vibe, the cinematography, the action. It was yeah, leading car in that race.
And Keanu Reeves had just finished Speed with Sandra Bullock, right? Or was that
Yes.
after The Matrix? It was
No,
before.
I think it was right before. So
Yeah.
like this was
Which was
just
great.
starting his career as an action actor.
Yeah.
Because before that, what he had been in Count Dracula, opposite Gary Oldman, and what else?
He also did
was
that
Bill
movie
and
with Al
Ted's?
Pacino, where Pacino was like
Devil's
Satan or
Advocate.
something. Devil's
Mm.
Advocate. I don't remember if that was pre or post Matrix though.
So it was like he had a series of like drama roles, and then Speed and Matrix came out. Well, Speed came out, and then Matrix right after that, and homeboy.
Yeah, I think
Up to the
Matrix is
races.
what really skyrocketed him.
Yeah,
For sure. Boy, where to put it though?
Yeah, it was sick. Bullet time,
wire
frame rate
choreography.
cameras,
Mhm.
like it was just fucking sick. God, yeah. There's too many things to talk about that make Matrix so great. I think it's
Yeah, the Wachowski sisters made an incredibly
Yep.
original,
Yep.
well-produced, culturally iconic.
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
Because that's the thing. A lot of these movies were legacies and became iconic. This did the same thing that Back to the Future did, that Jurassic Park did. Iconic, original, S tier.
Yeah, I can't have Ex Machina up there and not the Matrix,
Fair enough. Yeah.
right?
No, that
If
makes sense.
anything, among the ones that are in the S tier, I think Matrix would be something that would knock Ex Machina down into the A tier.
I feel that, yeah, as we've been putting more up on the board, I feel like Ex Machina could probably move down a peg. But Matrix, I think,
So, do we feel like this makes sense?
yeah,
I think so.
sure.
It's hard to say it. It's hard to admit it because I still feel as strongly as I do about Ex Machina. But
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, here's a point to make. All four of these S tier are
Mhm.
ensemble, where every actor is strong. Like, and every actor makes the movie what
Very
it
true.
was.
yeah.
That there wasn't a weak, link in the bunch. Ex Machina was also ensemble, but like still more of an actor movie.
No, yeah, A
And-
tier is
And
perfect.
Ex Machina does what Shape of Water did, where it was
Sure.
a tight cast
Yes.
about very specific people,
specific theme.
and it was more about the plot and the characters than it was sci-fi. It just had sci-fi elements.
Yep.
And not groundbreaking in the way that I think these were.
Absolutely.
It's
No.
extremely significant
Mhm.
for the history of the genre.
And
All of
did
these.
what it was going to do very well. I mean, Ex Machina, we obviously agree, way better than iRobot. So as far
for
as an
sure.
AI movie,
Yeah.
leagues above, however, not groundbreaking.
Yep. 100%.
And that's hard to say. I
It
feel
is hard,
guilty.
yeah.
I feel guilty admitting that and saying that.
Honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards moving Inception up to S. Feel like it belongs up there, but that's just me. I feel like Inception among the A movies really sets itself apart.
And when was the last time that we had a sci-fi film do what Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, and Matrix did?
Inception. I think that
But
was
but the problem I have with that is that we judged Rogue One lower than we might have because there's no character development. You don't really like. You're not desperate to see success versus failure among those characters. I think Inception kind of was the same thing. I don't think the characters were fleshed out well enough that you were like.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's why I think Inception comes down a peg from S tier, is because that to me is a weakness.
I think you're right. The characters in Inception were all great.
Yeah.
The cast was incredible. We talked about it. Elliot Page,
Mm-hmm.
Leo, Joseph
All-star
Gordon-Levitt,
cast.
Michael Caine, all-star cast.
Very good.
But their character development.
It wasn't really about that. I think it's the visual language of the movie that really elevates it.
And
that
I think
carries it forward.
I think Aran is right in keeping it in the A tier.
Sure.
Where it doesn't have, they don't have arcs.
Yeah.
They're great characters. They're great actors.
And I understand your movie can't be 5 hours long. Like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That makes
But
But
sense.
if we're going to
miniseries
judge
before.
other films on that
Yeah.
criteria, then
Gotta be fair.
little consistent.
Cool.
All right, what are we on to? The Martian.
The Martian.
With that guy.
Matt Damon.
So, who read the book here?
I didn't.
If you want to borrow it, it's right behind
Sit right there. You-
I read the book on vacation and I could not put it down. I could not put it down. And part of that is because up to that point, I'd read every book by Neil deGrasse Tyson, very interested in physics. And then reading The Martian, I could tell right away that the science in the book was among the most accurate for a fiction, science fiction book. It was shockingly accurate. And Mark Watney, the main character, was also funny and resilient and smart and like all the things that.
Fuck you, Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you rooted for him.
Yeah.
You wanted to see him kick ass in an impossible situation. And it was cool. The ending of the film compared to the book, however, pissed me off a little bit. But I understood that they had to end the film differently for moviegoers to feel like it had a strong conclusion. But I appreciated the fact that the movie, other than the ending, stuck so closely to the book in the best way, because other things do it and they fail to live up to the book or whatever. But this crushed it for me.
Yeah, I as far as book adaptation goes, yeah, it's one of the greatest adaptations to state of the source, improve upon the source visually and audibly.
Yeah.
I do agree with you about the ending. There is a difference. But you have to understand, and if you just think about it, it makes sense why the ending's different. It's just what needed to be done, and it's acceptable. I too read the book first, and I know that can sometimes skew a perspective or an opinion, and that's, if you read the book, let us know what you think, vice versa. If anybody at home that's still watching, let us know.
Yeah, because that would mean you've seen the movie and then read the book.
Yeah.
Crystal writes in, listen to the Martian audiobook over and over again. Absolutely loved it. The audiobook is top notch. The humor in the movie lived up to the book for sure.
Absolutely.
That's another important thing to point out. Shannon saying that the audiobook top notch and Crystal talking about the movie living up. That is something to bring up. Yes, like the humor was still the same. The humor was still the same, and they didn't go too campy. Matt Damon keeps up with the spirit of what was his name again?
Mark Watney.
Mark Watney.
Yeah.
He keeps to the humor. He delivers it well. He understood the character. That was great casting. What was one other thing I wanted to say? Andy Weir, when he was writing this book, where did I read this? He had a friend, or he knew someone that was a scientist, so he would fact check.
Yeah, yeah.
When he wanted to do something, he'd be like, "Ooh, how would you do this?"
Yeah. And he posted them on a forum in segments and allowed people in the forum to not only fact check his science, but also just like provide some thoughts about the character development as well. So he took notes from a general like audience.
Like crowdsourced.
Yeah, he kind of crowdsourced some of the story.
Really cool.
And I think it was to its benefit.
Absolutely.
But I still give him complete credit for the finished work at the same time.
Yeah.
See, this movie, I feel like, so I didn't read the book. I just watched the movie and I only saw it once, but it didn't leave as much of an impression on me as I would have hoped. Something about it it didn't totally resonate. And I don't really know exactly what it was. I'd have to rewatch it, I think. But I just don't feel very strongly about this movie. And I remember thinking that the ending was pretty silly, but I was like, okay. But overall, I mean, I don't think it was bad. It's just it didn't really grab me for some reason. So
To me, going on that, it sounds, again, it makes me think of like Battle Angel. It makes me think of I Am Legend. It makes me think of like,
yeah.
man, this was a really good film. I'm gonna talk about it for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna forget about it by next year until someone else brings it up. You know, it did right. It did good. Great film.
Yeah, that's hard because like now it makes me kind of want to compare it to something like Castaway with Tom Hanks, right? Where it is like you are the only person who survived. You're in this place completely isolated, and you have a limited amount of time to get a game plan together before you die and lose your mind. And a sense of humor, you know, is also important for the character to not just fall victim to despair,
Right.
like you know, painting a face on a volleyball.
Yeah.
Donald Glover being in The Martian also made my day. Absolutely. When he played like the guy who figured out the like course plot of like how to figure out how to like rescue him and slingshot him and like do all this shit. Because that was a cool character in the book too. It was kind of like the only other character of any significance where they developed them, you rooted for them, and you know all that stuff. And he did a great job in that. That was post Community.
Yes, it was post Community. It was right before his like acting career like really became mainstream, because I mean Donald's been acting and doing stuff for a long time, but yeah, it was right before he blew up in the movie scene.
And actually, I hadn't watched Community, so that was my first taste of him.
That's good taste.
He's so good.
And man, he crushed it. He was great.
Chrissy will tell you right here, she's one of the biggest Donald Glover fans.
For good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. We've talked about him for hours on end. He's great, and I forgot he was in it. Silly me.
Yeah.
So Martian.
What
are we feeling?
I feel like maybe you would have a higher opinion of it if you'd read the book first.
Oh yeah,
because then you'd have like the sort of the feels.
Yeah, right.
So I can understand.
I'd have the appreciation for it.
But as far as like we've talked about the other movies and we rate them compared to what we're talking about,
right?
What they've done, the legacy they've left behind. What are we thinking?
I think unfortunately it doesn't have historical impact as a film. Maybe it did as a book. But you know,
As a movie, I felt like it did kind of just it came and went, and it didn't really stick around in any sort of like significant way. I remember being excited for it and then going and watching it. I was like, oh okay, that was nice.
Well done.
But yeah, I kind of just moved on from that. So I mean, I'll defer to you guys on this. Like I would probably vote for maybe B, probably C. I think my gut is going with C. I think it's less memorable than iRobot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's as good.
I feel like
I think it would probably be a better movie than iRobot.
Way better movie than iRobot. Way better. I mean, great movie like I Am Legend. but I feel like the true test of time,
Mhm.
you know, it hasn't been that far since Martian, but it's
Yeah.
been so long since I Am Legend, I Am Robot, Pacific Rim, Pitch Black. I feel like the test of time, it could be forgotten, but it is a good film that absolutely, you know, we're talking about sci-fi films. We're having that conversation at a party. You meet someone you can hit it off with films and they go, "Oh, The Martian, I've never seen it." And you're like, it's got to be seen at least once.
Mm.
Well, I would argue that I would have a bigger reaction if somebody said, I haven't seen I Am Legend, I haven't seen Pitch Black, than I would have if they saw I haven't seen The Martian, I'd be like, yeah, that's understandable.
Right.
But the other ones I
Sure.
would be like, what?
Yeah, that is true.
I guess because
true.
at the end of the day, it's just Castaway in space.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any fantastical sci-fi elements. It's a more grounded, realistic NASA mission that went wrong.
It's so grounded. It's focused on procedure and like what you would do in this sort of
It's Apollo 13.
Yeah, right. It's one of those movies. And it's even less fantastic than something like Gravity, which is just a movie about floating around in zero G.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a hard sell, I guess.
I think it would be stronger on this list if it wasn't first a book.
Right.
And the fact that it is, I just can't get over how much better I think the book is than the film.
Gotcha.
As much as I think it did a great job of paying respect to the book. So, man, it hurts, but I feel like it's D tier.
Yeah.
It hurts me so bad to say that.
I agree because
But I think objectively,
it's a well executed, well written, well adapted, well acted, greatly produced film, but it falls because of so many other factors that are out of its control.
you know what I was saying in the car the other day, where I was interviewed recently by somebody, and they asked me if a person could only watch 3 films in their entire life, what 3 would you recommend? And I was like, that's such a better way to phrase that than what are your top 3 movies?
Right.
Because you really desperately have to think, what are the 3 films that would give somebody the greatest appreciation for the medium? And if I had to think about where The Martian might fall in those terms, it's not one that I would recommend to somebody if they could only watch 3 sci-fi films. And that's unfortunate, but I think that's
because you can get, I mean, yeah, if you were recommending these are the only 3 you get to watch,
people could live without seeing The Martian.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But they can't live without reading the book if they like science fiction literature.
Gotcha.
Then I would be like, if you haven't read The Martian, you're fucking up.
Gotcha.
You agree? It hurts, right? It's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful. But I think it's objective.
Yeah. When I saw
along the measures.
when I saw this list in the beginning, I did not anticipate. I remember going over Martian and being like, okay, yeah, that's not going to be F or D.
I thought it would rank high, yeah.
And it's like, no, when you think about it, after processing everything else, it's like, yeah, no, that's
kind of down there.
Rough.
Because it won't have the impact that Signs has. However many years Signs came out, it will not have the same impact. Time will tell. But.
And it hurts to see it so close to Armageddon. Like, no.
Look, let's be real though. Armageddon would be like K tier.
Yeah,
if we had more.
The fact that it's the only F movie on there, like, I think says a lot. You know?
Oh,
what I mean?
I'm terrified of what's coming next, but I think I'll be all right.
F is not enough for what
F is not
Armageddon
enough.
deserves.
Can we just edit that to be K or like L?
F is like New Jersey tier. It's that
New Jersey.
Yeah, Armageddon is New Jersey tier. It's
New Jersey of sci-fi. That is hilarious.
Or Florida. Man.
Shannon writes, I agree with y'all. The book is incredible and ranks high, but the movie was perfectly fine, but nothing special. Yeah.
So what's interesting is our last movie on this list that we have to debate is Ready Player One, which is also based on a book.
Yep.
And certainly then going to be measured with how true it stays to the book versus how it goes in its own direction. The ending was different from the book, just in the same way that The Martian's ending was different from the book.
But it's also drastically different from the book.
Yep. I forget how this ends.
Well, drastically?
Ooh, yeah. The different quests for the keys are completely different.
Oh yeah, it is there's a lot that's changed about the book, and this is where I think things get interesting because and we've talked about this before. I read the book before the movie came out.
Me too.
That book was a fucking slog, man. I did not have fun reading that book for the most part. Like, well, not that it was a slog, but I thought that there were so many parts of that book that were completely uninteresting to read. It was just like a list of like, and then I put on my Power Glove and I got in my Millennium Falcon and I had lunch with Optimus Prime or whatever. It's like where it's just a list of things.
I've heard this exact I've heard these exact thoughts several times where and I remember leaving the movie theater with friends. We'd all read the book, and one guy in the group had said similarly, where the book just feels like it's Ernest Cline just regurgitating nostalgia.
Just rattling things that he liked. And
it's 80s fan service.
It's 80s fan service. Now, for me, I didn't mind it because a guilty pleasure of mine is I can love the campy and the nostalgia. Like I said earlier, I like the last Jurassic Park movie because it was just fun to revisit and just like geek out and be like, fan service. Doesn't make it great, but I had fun. But I understand your point for sure.
Yeah. The book just felt hollow to me, like the characters were secondary to the story, and it was more so about the how cool it would be to fly on the Halo planet or something like, and that is where I think the movie
compete in a race in a DeLorean.
Yeah, like that's cool, but like I feel like the movie is a better medium for that story because it's visually interesting, whereas the book it doesn't have any visuals. It's just
and
like
so this is one of the main reasons the movie diverts so much from the book is how do you make a quest about playing Joust against the Lich King from D&D seem interesting?
Exactly. Well, you
you got to scrap it.
Yeah, got to scrap it. Yeah, so you have to do something more interesting.
Yeah.
Just to catch up on the chat for a second, Crystal and Shannon seems they agreed with us about the Martian being where we put it. Bummer, but I agree. And it says, I agree with y'all. The book is incredible and ranks high, but the movie was perfectly fine, but nothing special. Yeah, I think we're all feeling the pain of that one. But to me, I have a completely different view than you do about Ready Player One. I also read the book before the movie. And I loved the book. And I loved the ending of having to recite line for line perfectly Monty Python's Holy Grail.
That's right.
Because to me, that was something we would watch that every Christmas. We would rewatch Monty Python.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like, okay, I could win.
Right.
Because if I were him and that was the last challenge, I would win.
Yeah.
I could recite that movie line for line. And you know, and yes, it's hard to ignore the fact that this book was written to tug at the heartstrings of the generation whose first gaming console was a Super NES, you know, like the Mario Duck Hunt, you know, was your first video game, you know, and like but I also understand that is not an exciting ending to a movie.
Right.
Because Monty Python's Holy Grail is not something that people are going to
and
feel the way I felt about it. And like, I cried when that was how the book, you know, decided this is the ultimate.
Yeah, because you had a personal attachment to it.
Very, yes.
And that's what the book did. It hit a lot of like niche personal things that, a lot of it was a regurgitation of nostalgia and like pop names or just quick references. But Wade Watts in the book can be such an unlikable, and I'm sorry we're talking so much about the book, guys. he can be such an unlikable person
Mhm.
because win to win that contest in the book, you had to be like Halliday.
Right.
You had to be such an eccentric,
Mhm.
possibly on the spectrum,
Right.
Mm.
I totally see what you're
that
saying.
you had to have social skills down so that your intelligence or your memory or your, certain aspects of the brain needed to be heightened to win, because those challenges were not meant for Joe Schmo.
Right.
They were meant for someone who would be Halliday's predecessor, which is like, how
Mm.
people look at Steve Jobs.
Mhm.
He was eccentric, he was rude, he was a jerk, but in his right, he was a genius.
Wait,
Right.
does that make this like the sci-fi Willy Wonka?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Wow,
You get
I
the
never thought
chocolate
about it that
factory at
way.
the end. Yeah, you get the whole shebang. He's
He
the Willy
inherits the
Wonka.
chocolate factory at the
Yeah.
end of this.
Wow.
I wonder if they'll ever do a sequel.
I'm curious.
Ready Player
Ready
2.
Player 2.
I don't think it did well enough that they could.
Might not have. But I will say that the changes from the book to the movie, I think, were very much warranted. I remember the second challenge
Mm.
being like, you have to act out the movie War Games or something. And I've never seen War Games. So like that's the thing, is that like if you read the book and the references hit, then it's a totally different experience. So to me, I'm like,
Oh, when they miss.
yeah, I'm like, what the
Mhm.
fuck? Like, why would it? And not only that, but you can't film that. You can't
Yeah.
put that in a movie. You just can't.
Mhm.
But they did something else where they all went to the Overlook Hotel, and that was like a crazy,
Oh.
Wonderful.
mind-bending sequence. Like I never thought I would see a half-orc cyborg in the Overlook Hotel for the
Yes.
shot. Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's something that only this movie could. I never thought I'd see Mecha Godzilla fight a Gundam, but it happens in this movie.
Or the Iron Giant
Iron
joined the
Giant.
fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was sick.
With
you
the
know?
fucking chick from Overwatch or whatever.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
Tracer
They
was in this.
slammed
Master
everybody.
Chief was in this. You know,
Yeah.
Chucky, dude.
Chucky's in
the
it.
best F bomb I think in a PG-13 movie where that guy's like, "It's fucking Chucky," and then he gets stabbed a bunch. Dude, that was so funny, man.
Ready Player One, the movie, did something that the book did.
Hmm.
And what the movie did, being very different from the book, it hit that part of my brain that loves nostalgia.
Mhm.
And what the movie did that the book didn't, even though both hit nostalgia, this movie reawakened my love for movies,
Mhm.
which started with Jurassic Park. It
Mm.
started with classic Spielberg and Zemeckis films,
Mhm.
The DeLorean. Who didn't want to drive a DeLorean
Right.
and race it through a crazy race, you know?
Yeah.
I feel that the book was very much about 80s nostalgia. And while this touches 80s nostalgia, this movie does an incredible job of making me remember why I love films.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's where I resonated with this movie, because it's a Steven Spielberg film, not done like his 2010 Spielberg films. But the soundtrack was also Alan Silvestri, who did the soundtrack for Back to the Future and a lot of Steven Spielberg's things. And it's a very reminiscent, nostalgic vibe that Silvestri goes back to, because Silvestri did the Avengers films. He's done other modern films, and you don't know.
Right.
Like you hear John Williams and you're like, oh, it's John Williams.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Silvestri has grown and changed his sound.
Hmm.
And the soundtrack for this, I will say this about all these movies right now. A lot of these have incredibly pivotal, important soundtracks that help make the movie what they were. Silvestri does something in here where he goes back to his 80s vibe, energy, whatever you call it.
Returns to his own work in a way.
He returns to his own work, pays an homage to himself, and creates new sound that to me is iconic. I love the soundtrack to this. I own it on vinyl. And Spielberg does the same thing too. You look at a lot of the cinematography, the shot choices.
Yeah.
The choices for shots, for zooming in, for tightness on certain shots, or why something's wide. Spielberg is mimicking his
older,
old
earlier
style
style. Yeah.
with a lot of things.
Speaking of making making homages to oneself. I feel like I read or heard somewhere that Spielberg was against placing things, placing characters and props from his own films in this movie version, even though he was making it,
I
because he
remember.
didn't want it to feel self-congratulatory,
Right.
like saying, I'm an icon of film because I placed my things in here,
Mhm.
with all these other iconic things.
Yeah, I could tell. I respect him for that because that would
Yeah.
feel a little masturbatory.
But I
to
think
be
the
like,
studio
ET in the
forced it.
background or something.
But I think the studio forced those things
Yeah,
Because,
because like
surprised me.
because you could picture a trailer
Right.
where if those things are in it, it makes it a stronger box office.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think the main thing that I had heard was like he didn't want the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park in that scene. That was like one
that
thing.
was the one
Mm.
non-negotiable. Like, I don't want that in there.
Yeah, that
Mm.
well, that was one of the things that he had talked about,
Mm.
or he had that came up, and they still went with it, and they just kind of rolled it, but then they pulled back other things as well.
Mm.
You know, because the studio's argument was that the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, I mean, she's the character that's in every film. You
Right.
know what I mean? She is.
Right.
It's that T-Rex in the last Jurassic Park film is the T-Rex from part 1. It's
Mm.
still her. So the studio argued that no, she needs to be in this somehow. So Spielberg consolidated and was like, well, then pull some other things out.
Yeah. The actor who played the villain in this one,
Yeah.
the first time I saw him in anything was a Netflix series called Bloodline, which was fantastic. He was an amazing sort of like, is he the villain kind of role,
Hmm.
and filmed in Miami, which is cool. A lot of my old actor friends are in that, and then he went on to be the villain in this, which was great because I was clamoring for more from him,
But
and
before this,
then he did Rogue One.
Dr. Krennic, Director Krennic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he got all these great villain parts, and I was happy about that. But then that I think was the thing that really sold me that I wanted to see this.
Hmm.
Reading the book to me wasn't necessarily enough because I had that kind of apprehension of like, don't meet your heroes.
Right.
What
right,
if the
right,
movie sucks?
Yeah.
And it makes me feel differently about the book.
And I went into this completely feeling that way of just like, all right, I'm going into this expecting the worst. They're going to abuse the IP. They're just going to give me a bunch of cool scenes. That's all I'm looking for. I
Mhm.
did not expect to walk out of this movie going, oh, wow, they did something completely unexpected. They knew they couldn't keep to the book and
Right.
embraced it.
Yeah. Yeah. The changes that they made were both warranted and I think better choices.
Mhm.
Like it was an adaptation that strayed from the source material, but in a way that serviced the new medium that it was in.
And did what the book tried to do, where it was like, all right, we're going to nostalgia barf, but we're going to appeal to these people. And this, I think, appealed to those of us that loved Spielberg, that grew up on Spielberg
Oh yeah.
films.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then they threw in the Master Chief and Tracer from Overwatch, and like there's Ninja Turtles running in the field and like
Mhm.
other stuff. It's just like, yeah, well, use that budget. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But no.
if that's the case, then I feel like if we compare it apples to apples with The Martian, in terms of movie based on book, it did better, had broader appeal,
Yeah.
and it strayed from the ending, but had its own legs in doing so. Whereas I feel like the ending of The Martian compared to the book was kind of annoying and like over Hollywood
Hmm.
adapting.
Mhm.
So to me, that immediately puts it above D tier. Would I put it? I'm just randomly looking around. Would I put it next to Starship Troopers, Signs, Rogue One? Yeah, I think I could say that. So B tier at least. Like, is it up there with Independence Day and Ex Machina and Dread? Is it as rewatchable as that? Is it as significant to the genre as Inception and Interstellar? I don't know.
I feel like for me, B is a solid choice. I know I'm biased. I'm wearing a t-shirt that says Oasis right now. I chose a denim vest because that is what Parzival wears in the movie. Ready Player One was one
You
of
brought the keys?
I brought the keys.
Oh no way.
Let us know if you can find them. Ready Player
I
One.
don't want to hold it up to the camera. Fuck it.
That's awesome.
That's just one of them, folks. Let me know if you guys can find the other two.
We'll take a photo of the set and post it as a, find the Easter egg.
Oh yeah, because Aran, actually, you're blocking one of
Yeah.
the keys.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I'll post it in the Discord. If you're not a member of Discord, you better get on it.
that's the only way to find out. You got to join our Discord. Yeah, no, I'm very biased to this film, but I also acknowledge that it's no Inception. It's no Interstellar. It's has the fun of Back to the Future. But it's not an A-tier movie.
It doesn't break any ground.
No.
You know?
I would put it on par with Alita Battle Angel. I think that those two movies live in the same space of mind. Think about, I mean, they also came out at a very similar time, so that could be
Yes.
part of it.
Yeah.
But they both evoke the same emotion of watching it, of like, oh, this is like really fun and like fun to look at and everything like that.
I wish there was more.
Yeah. I would like for there to be sequels to this. That'd be
I wish
really
the
cool.
scenes were longer. I wish
Yeah.
there were sequels. I agree.
I just thematically, there's not a whole lot of stuff to chew on or analyze or anything like that. So it is more flashy. It's more style than substance, I think. So I don't know if B's where I would put it. I would put it next to Alita at C, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's
Here-
could live up in B.
Here's where I feel that if it goes into C, I want it to drag Starship Troopers with it.
Well, see, here's where I think if we talk about it as style,
Mm-hmm.
Starship Troopers delivered a style that broke some ground.
It did. It also had
Ready Player One didn't.
Yeah.
No, it did not.
It was style that we've seen.
And I mean, they used the same mocap technology, I should add, that
Oh, did
Battle
they?
Angel Alita did.
Didn't know that.
Yes. So when you see them making characteristic, I mean, they're using the
Mm.
same one. Yeah. But you're right. Didn't break the ground.
And then it sounds like it's a C, as much as maybe it pains Carlos to put it there a little bit.
So much pain.
Yeah.
But I acknowledge too, like, and I don't stand on any false platform that like I'm offended or like will fight like, no, it needs to be higher. It's like, look at what's higher.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like it's in
Look
good company.
at what it's higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still stand by everything I just spewed out about this movie and how I feel about it, and I will die on the hill for that. But I also acknowledge the other things that are better, and they're on this list.
Yeah.
You know, how many years ago did Signs come out? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Okay. Will Ready Player One have any cultural or cinematic significance in 20 years?
30 years from now. Yeah. Compared
Yeah.
to Signs.
Will we still be craving the 80s and such
Right.
in 20 years? No.
Right.
Signs will still be relevant in 20 years
Right.
unless
Yeah.
aliens come out before then. You know,
Or
Starship Troopers.
real aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Starship Troopers will still be out there. Rogue One will still
Yeah,
be
yeah.
argued as the best or worst Star Wars film. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So yeah, no. It in this tier list of what we've got,
So
I
that
humbly
actually,
accept.
Yeah.
okay, that actually brings me to, I think, a fun way to conclude this, which would be each of us has an opportunity right now
Hmm.
to make a final argument in front of your peers if you wanted to relocate
One film,
one
One
film.
film.
What
whether
would
it goes
be,
up or down.
and where would you want to argue to relocate it? Josh, you want to start us off since you
Oh,
started us
man.
off?
Shit. I don't honestly. I feel like this list feels.
You can say it's perfect too. You
I,
can
I
say
think it
it's-
feels really good. I'm trying to look for changes that I would make. Honestly, I think Rogue One should be in C. That might be my only gripe, just because of my specific gripe with that movie. I have like a weird thing where I'm like, that movie should have been better.
Is that mostly because the lack of character development?
just the lack of likable characters. The robot was the only one that was remotely like, oh, I like this guy. He's like like Andor was interesting, I guess. Jyn Erso was whatever. I forgot her name. I don't remember any of her lines. and there were also like 6 other people that were part of the Rogue Squadron or whatever. So it's like,
and some of them were kind of racial stereotypes.
Yeah,
which was also a
the
little bit
mystical Asian
was
man
weird.
with his
Yeah, and like the fucking big Samoan guy and like all that shit.
So
I think that the thing that actually left a sour taste in my mouth, if there was anything about Rogue One, was the actor who played Ip Man in all
Yes.
those movies. That
Yes.
guy, that sort of monk
yeah,
character.
right.
I was so annoyed by him continually chanting this, like, I am one with the Force and the Force is one with me and bullshit. Like, okay, do that in one scene, not in 5 scenes.
Yeah.
Like, that,
Yeah.
that
Maybe we
just
hear
was,
you say it in the final scene
it
when
was
shit's getting
cringe
stacked.
to me.
Yeah.
It was constant with him.
Yeah, it's like so they just didn't have anything for him to say, clearly. And they just
Thank
like
you,
Donnie
James.
Yen.
Donnie Yen. I was forgetting his
Donnie
name.
Yen.
Thank you,
That
James.
line of dialogue was fucking cringe.
Yeah.
bad. See, like I enjoyed Solo more than Rogue One, even though I think Solo was arguably more pointless.
See,
And-
I would say Solo was the worst of the offshoot movies.
It's like I agree that it really wasn't necessary from the get-go, but it had some earnestness to it. It had some like heart to it that I actually really appreciated that Rogue One didn't really come through with. So I think just like the spirit of the characters was not nearly as saturated as it should have been.
To what Josh is saying, I can't disagree with. I like Rogue One better than Solo, but I wish Solo had the production of Rogue One
Hmm.
because I think it would have been a better movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Yeah.
the characters in Solo did actually feel more alive.
Mhm.
You know,
I'm also biased because Donald Glover played an amazing
Yes.
Yeah.
Calrissian.
he
Great
killed it.
Orlando.
And
I
Woody
wish there
Har-
was more.
Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson,
Woody Harrelson.
was
Harrelson.
actually fantastic. You
Yeah.
would think that he would take you out of the Star Wars universe because he's such a recognizable face
Mhm.
that you would just be thinking of other parts he's played the whole time. But no, he lived it. Like he really infused himself and it was strong. I think that as you're talking about this, comparing to Solo, I can be convinced that the lowest of the lows in Rogue One and the highest of the highs were so far apart that the
Mhm.
movie was inconsistent.
Yes.
Whereas Solo at least was consistent
Yeah.
from end to end. And it had a kind of Forrest Gump feel to it.
It did. It totally
where Han ends up having to go fight in the war for the Empire and
Mhm.
you know, in the way that like Forrest ended up in Vietnam and
Uh-huh.
like that was actually kind of cool.
did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck. I did not want to walk in here feeling like Han Solo was the worst and walking out flip-flopping a little
Yeah.
bit. But here's what I'll do. It doesn't make me feel like Rogue One is not in my I'm not walking
Sure.
out of here thinking that it wasn't still the best Star Wars movie. Because
Yeah.
for me, it's still my
Mhm.
my favorite one. But I can be sold that
It goes down to C.
it could go down to C, but only if one of the C ones goes
Mm.
up into B. I think then I could be convinced maybe Ready Player One deserves to be in B, or I Am Legend deserves to be in B.
It's
if
one of
Rogue
those
One
two,
comes
I think.
down.
I think it's one of those two. I'd be willing to swap it for either one of those, honestly. I'd probably lean more towards I Am Legend, just because it has a more emotional core to it that I think is more relevant, and it's a little bit more timeless than
Mm.
most of Ready Player One. Because that's the
Mm.
thing about a movie that's based on references is that like it's gonna stop resonating with people at some point.
Yeah,
It's just
Legend
going
is so
to.
much stronger than Player One. I
It's
think.
got a human story on it that is just you can watch it whenever, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what time period it's set in.
Carlos is over here tasting the ingredients, trying to figure out if he likes the dish or not.
Yeah, no, I'm sitting here figuring out how to argue you guys.
Well, I guess we're arguing two things.
Yeah.
Does Rogue One deserve to move down?
Right? Which I don't disagree with.
And does something in C deserve to move up?
I don't feel like anything in C needs to move up.
Hmm.
Because where I Am Legend had a serious emotional impact and was a solid film, where Rogue One did a lot of Star Wars things right, but lacked literal character.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that makes I Am Legend a better movie than Rogue One.
Sure.
I don't know, dude. Because Rogue One serves Star Wars fans, but I Am
Yeah.
Legend serves film fans, not just sci-fi,
I agree.
but
I agree.
film.
I agree.
As a feature piece for
Yeah.
an actor, as a post-apocalyptic story,
Mm-hmm.
as like survival, what it means to be human, whether or not human beings deserve their fate, and like
Mhm.
I don't know, larger themes.
I know. And I mean, like, I can sit here and argue about Battle Angel Alita and how the mocap technology that James Cameron worked on has paved the way for video games, for cinema, and has done incredible things technically for both industries and television.
Were you gonna argue for Battle Angel?
I
Or
wasn't.
were you thinking of something different that you were gonna?
I
Make a
am
final
of
argument for.
the class that I don't think anything in C needs to move up,
Mhm.
because each of them brought different things to the table, but none of them are better than the other.
Okay.
That's fair.
So then, what would you argue then that needs to be relocated, if anything? You don't have to, but
Obviously ready. No. Moving anything. I'm going to start from the top and I'm going down. The 4 movies that we selected for S tier, iconic, masterpieces in their own right, don't need to be moved. A tier, Inception, Interstellar, Shape of Water, Dread, Independence Day, and Ex Machina. Incredible films. B tier, Signs, Starship Troopers. Incredible films, but they had almost a B movie quality to it that just doesn't give them the final production
Mm-hmm.
that the other movies had. C tier, Alita, I Am Legend, E.T., Pitch Black, Rogue One, Ready Player One. Varying different kinds of films from different eras, different directors, different styles. All did a lot. Some aren't as memorable, some aren't as good. Some are kind of a cult classic, Pitch Black. And some of the other ones might not stand the test of time. I don't know. D tier, I don't know. I think we said perfectly the right amount of wordage for
Yeah.
those 3 movies.
And Armageddon tier.
he wants to move Armageddon up.
needs to be moved down.
Make a whole new tier.
You know, when we were talking earlier, when we were talking about The Martian and where it needed to go, I felt like we needed to bring D and F down. You know, I felt like there should be a space between C and D at that point where Martian fit in, because it's a better movie than iRobot and Pacific Rim.
Oh, so you're saying between C and D
I think there's like,
is a home for like The Martian?
I felt like there was a home for a whole list of movies, you know, that aren't as good
Yeah.
as C tiers, but yeah, Armageddon. That's gonna be my vote to just move it lower. That's what
Move
I'm
it
gonna
to
say.
G.
I'm honestly, you know,
I could just move it off the list entirely. Oh no, it won't let me. It's permanent. Okay.
Also,
I-
we have 2001: A Space Odyssey. The
Oh, that's
empty-
true. We
yeah.
did.
Where did we put
We didn't
that?
have the
That was
poster,
in
but
C.
I wanted to put it in S tier. I think you guys wanted to put it
Did
in
we put
like
it in A?
B, maybe.
Because it
Forget.
was avant-garde to
'Cause
its
it was a little
a
detriment.
little
avant-garde.
avant-garde. Yeah.
I would put it.
I thought we landed on putting it on A tier.
I thought it was A.
Okay, I forgot then,
Yeah.
because I was debating A or B. It definitely needs to be an A because, it's an integral story. Like, if you take a sci-fi class 101,
Right.
sci-fi films 101,
History of film.
Oh,
I
yeah.
took a history of film class in art school, and
Space Odyssey is in there.
Yes, it was in my art
absolutely
history
needs
course.
to be in there.
Could be.
You know, it did a lot for cinematography and in cinema, just in its own right, outside of its genre.
Yeah. As an artistic film, for sure.
So yeah, 2001 A list, A tier. But I feel like everything is fair. It's just Armageddon should be a lot lower.
Okay. You know, for me, man, I know I kind of argued I Am Legend could move up. I think I could also argue maybe Shape of Water it doesn't even fit on this list compared to like fantasy. But you know, I think we wanted to show it some respect within the sci-fi genre, and that's
Yeah.
why we wanted to include it.
Yeah, because I can't picture it in any other genre.
Yeah.
It's in that it's in like a middle space, but
It's
I think
too fantastical to be a drama. It's
Yeah.
not fantasy. Doesn't fit anywhere else in my mind.
sci-fi makes sense.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt.
I would probably want to move Pitch Black up to
Hmm.
be alongside Science and Starship Troopers.
It was original. It did a lot of things that were different.
But here's the thing. We didn't put like the Alien movies and the Predator movies and
Right.
all of the like things. And maybe that's because Pitch Black is more of a monster movie than a sci-fi. It's just the setting is in space.
Do we still consider Predator's more of a monster movie in my head?
And Alien is more sci-fi.
Alien's more sci-fi. Do
Yeah.
we consider Alien sci-fi? Because
I
I
do,
would put,
Sure.
to me, I've not seen Alien because I was terrified as a child. Don't judge me. And I still would be terrified of the
I'm gonna
xenomorphs.
make you see it.
They're terrifying creatures. I would put Alien, from everything I've seen, from the clips I've seen, from how it's referenced, how culturally important it is, to Ridley Scott's career
Yep.
being based off of it. I would put Alien as an S tier.
100%.
Sure.
So compared to Pitch Black,
All
if
right.
Alien
yeah.
was here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where does
yeah.
Pitch Black go?
Okay. Then I think
See.
it sits where it is.
Yeah, folks, the only reason Alien isn't here is because I haven't seen it. Fight me.
We're fixing that. All right. So, damn, we did it, guys. Fucking hell. It took a million fucking years, but I think what's great is that this was fun. I love debating movies, talking about movies all the damn time.
Yeah, this was a blast.
I think having you in the audience contributing your opinions is also fantastic. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do. But I think even more so than that, if you're in here commenting and being a part of this, you should definitely be a part of the Discord, because that's like a 7-day-a-week version of what we just did here. We're talking about movies, but we're also talking about TV. We're talking about anime. We're like sharing lists of like our favorite things, and like, you know, that's, I think, really where it's at right now is our Discord. So make sure that you're in that. And to wrap it up, Crystal wants to know, James and I are arguing over what movie we should watch tonight. I say Pinocchio, and he wants Starship Troopers. Help us decide, please.
Wow.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio on Netflix. No question about it. You can watch Starship Troopers tomorrow or another night. Watch that version of Pinocchio. You're welcome.
I might do that too, actually, tonight. Is that?
Yeah. Wouldn't be a bad movie night.
Do
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm going to do it too. We are going to watch Pinocchio. And then we can get on the Discord channel
And tell us
talk
what
about
you
it.
thought. Yes, absolutely. Be like, you guys were totally wrong.
This movie was trash. You're terrible.
Yeah, Pinocchio needed giant bugs. Wait, what about Jiminy Cricket?
He is a bug. Perfect.
There you go. All right. Well, that was a stretch. Okay. I guess we can call it there.
Yeah, let's
Cool.
call it. Is there anything else you have to say?
You guys were wrong about everything.
Yep, including wrong. Guys, thanks you so much for joining us. If you're still here, if you had to dip out early or you just popped in for a second, thanks again. This has been fun reading the chat, hearing your comments. Like Aran said, join us in the Discord. We can chat like this
Yes.
all the time.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man,
Dude,
of course.
Absolutely. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you joined us for that.
I feel like since we had you for the
They live.
for They Live, which
Yeah.
if you haven't watched our reaction to They Live, that was our most recent episode. Watch it. I feel like since we had you for that, it just feels different when it's just the two of us now. We're like, we're missing something. We're missing
Aw.
Josh.
That's sweet.
So yeah, I hope you are down to do more of these. And
Absolutely.
yeah, the live stream I think was fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
What genre should we do next if we're gonna do another tier list?
That's a great question. Leave it up to the audience. Do a Discord poll.
Ooh, Discord poll. There
Discord
you go.
poll.
Yep. Okay. So after this, I'm gonna make a poll in the Discord, and if you're not there, you don't get to tell us what genre should we do another tier list.
Yep.
All
Let
right.
us know. We'll do it.
Sweet.
Cool.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you for the next one. We have an episode. What's our next episode?
Good night. What?
What's our next reaction? We just filmed it.
The Mist.
The Mist. Yeah.
Nice.
Keep an eye out for that. That's our next video we're gonna upload soon to the channel.
The Mist.
Fucking crazy. Have you seen it?
No,
That was a film.
it is good.
Yeah.
Oof.
If you just are in the mood to be completely devastated by the ending to something.
I had the ending spoiled for me.
Oh no!
I know.
Damn it!
But I'm
Kill that
still,
person.
Still interested in like actually experiencing it.
All right.
Because it's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Well, you could watch the reaction.
And then you'll just
Oh, yeah.
appreciate the
you
ending
go.
that was
You could
spoiled.
see-
I'll subscribe. Like you did.
Wait, you're not subscribed?
What?
You're not invited to another fucking.
And cut the stream.
You're out. You're out. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.